No, they are quite close. I have to say they were very impressive at Villa Park last weekend, which was live on Talksport 2 against Aston Villa, taking a big point out of that game and playing the majority of it with 10 players as well. Talksport's commentary team of Ian Danter and former Sheffield United women's striker Courtney Sweetman-Kirk are alongside me here at Portman Road. I've been here a couple of times this season, Courtney, and the crowd are always fantastic. Then, you know, you want the players to be putting in the kind of effort that this crowd deserve, getting back into the Premier League. It's so incredible for them. What do they need to do today against this Spurs side? Because Liam Delap is their focal point. I thought Enciso was fantastic last week. He's going to be a huge miss, and then that puts all the emphasis back on Liam Delap again. Yeah, it does. I also like having Leif Davis, I think, back in the side, obviously left back, but he loves to get forward, and especially when we're talking about Delap, someone that, you know, is big, is hungry, he's good in the air as well. So we know that Leif Davis has got immense quality, both for getting forward and open play crosses, and also from set pieces. So that's going to hope. But for me, it's about having less fear. I know it's difficult when you're in the relegation battle, and obviously you don't want to go out too gung-ho initially and get caught by Spurs, but I think the way that Spurs play with that high line, and as we mentioned with the Delap and the players that they've got to their disposal, it can be exploited. So as the home side, you always want to be the ones on the front foot with the impetus, and I think if they can get themselves ahead early, we've spoke about, yes, Spurs have improved, but there might be a feeling of, here we go again if Spurs concede early. So I think a fast start for Kieran McKenna's side is imperative. Yeah, Villa could have had a fast start against them last week, actually, because there was no Leif Davis. They played a wing-back system. It just didn't work for them at all. They actually played better when they were down to 10 with Axel Tu and Zabi there. But they've been in all these games, haven't they? But they ultimately end up dropping points. What is it about their mentality, or is it just that they're not quite up to the standard? Some of it could be mentality, but they're learning on the job, a lot of these players. So it's easy to point to one thing and say it might be fitness, it might be mentality. It's probably, if we're being quite honest, it's a mixture of things. It's a mixture of a lack of experience and not being able to see out games at this level. Yes, you know, some people will say, well, football games are the same whether you do it in the EFL or the Premier League, but it's not. It's a completely different standard. So I think this is why we're seeing them as they go along. They're getting better. Who would have thought they would have been able to sort of see out that draw with Aston Villa of going down to 10, but they did it. So they're learning, they're progressing, and that's the most important thing. So I think it's just a case of this side is maturing as it goes along. And they've now got a goalkeeper that can potentially keep them in the league, and that is vital for promoted sides. Alex Palmer making his Premier League debut last week at Villa Park. He essentially earned them that point. He was fantastic. Yeah, he was brilliant, and sort of it's one of those where save after save you go, what a save, what a save, what a save. Normally you get a couple of them in a game at best, but it was, you know, constant from him. So you're right, sometimes you need a bit of luck, sometimes you need players to be in form like your goalkeeper, and also you're looking at the likes of Delap for that as well at the other end to put it in the back of the net. So they've got to be good in both boxes today. But Alex Palmer, as you say, he was an excellent acquisition and a really strong start to his Ipswich career. Yeah, Manchester United were in action over on Talksport 2 earlier on, pulled it back from 2-0 down against Everton to draw 2-2. They've got their eyes on Liam Delap. I mean, obviously, thankfully for Ipswich, they didn't get him in January. Could you see him maybe playing for England? 100%. And I think looking at the attributes that he's got, obviously Harry Kane isn't getting any younger either, but you know, similar probably stature but different type of player as well. And I think, you know, especially when you go to major tournaments, you might have injuries or you need something a little bit different. I think Delap would provide a different type of focal point for England. Yeah, absolutely. The players make their way out here at Portman Road. Ipswich captain Dara O'Shea leading out his team alongside Son Heung-min as the pyrotechnics go up on the far side of this fantastic stadium. Premier League football is back here, and it's been a delight to watch it. What can Ipswich Town do today? Can they do the double over a side known as a pack of rebels, which I've never actually heard before and I love? You never know what you're going to get with Spurs. We'll find out what we're going to get from both of these sides after 90 minutes live here on Talksport 2. Sit back and enjoy in the company of your commentary team of Courtney Sweetman-Kirk and Ian Danter.
Thank you, Faith, and a very good afternoon to you wherever and however you're listening to Talksport 2 on game day. I was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in early November on that day when Ipswich finally secured their first Premier League win of the season with a deserved 2-1 scoreline. That success did not, however, signal a huge change in the Suffolk club's fortunes, and they still sit in the bottom three, although with Leicester's heavy defeat at home to Brentford last night on Talksport, there is the chance for the hosts here to exit the drop zone today if they win and Wolves lose down at Bournemouth. Nor necessarily was that reverse fixture the lowest point of Tottenham's season. Chelsea, Liverpool, Newcastle and Leicester all subsequently picked up Premier League wins in North London, but back-to-back league wins over Brentford and Manchester United in February have given the slightest cause for optimism that there is light at the end of a particularly long tunnel for Ange Postecoglou. Well, Kieran McKenna was indebted to his new keeper, Alex Palmer, who Faye and Courtney were just talking about there. He preserved the point at Villa last time out, despite the Tractor Boys being down to 10 men for over 50 minutes. Palmer makes his home Premier League debut in a side that shows 4 changes from the Villa Park 11. Twanzebe suspended and Ciso injured, and Townsend and Johnson benched today as Godfrey, Davis-Clark and Philogene all come in. Spurs are still awaiting a fair few to return from injury, but 1 or 2 back in the fold, and Postecoglou makes 3 alterations from the Manchester United win last Sunday. Udogie, Gray and Johnson in for Porro, Maddison and Ben Davies, who is absent from the squad today. So the lineups for I'll start with Ipswich. Alex Palmer in goal, Ben Godfrey, Dara O'Shea, Jacob Greaves and Leif Davis in the back 4. Calvin Phillips and Jens Kuyust are the holding midfielders, and then Jaden Philogene, Amari Hutchinson and Jack Clark playing in behind Liam Delap. Spurs 11, same formation, 4-2-3-1 by the looks of it. Guillermo Vicario in goal. Jed Spence switches to right back today. Kevin Danso, Archie Gray and Destiny Udogie make up the rest of the back 4. Lucas Bergvall and Rodrigo Bentancur continue to hold in midfield, and then it's Brennan Johnson, Dejan Kulusevski and Son Heung-min behind Matthijs Tel in attack. On the bench for Ipswich, Muric, Morsey, Wolfenden, Taylor, Johnson, Townsend, Schmodix, Hurst and Broadhead. The Spurs bench, Kinski, Reguilon, Bissouma, Maddison, Porro, Odebear, Sarr, Scarlett and Moore. Man in the middle today is Tim Robinson from West Sussex. Our viewpoint this afternoon at Portman Road is pretty much position A as commentary boxes go. We are sat at the base of the top tier in the West stand, with the Sir Bobby Robson stand to our left and the Sir Ralph Ramsey stand to our right. Travelling Tottenham support in both the bottom and top tiers of the Cobbold stand opposite us that runs the length of the pitch, and both teams will be in their first choice colours this afternoon. Ipswich in the royal blue with a light pinstripe, white shorts, blue socks. Spurs in the white shirts with a darker blue epaulets and dark blue shorts and white socks. And it will be Spurs to get us underway, and they will be kicking from right to left as we look from the west stand. So Spurs will be heading for the Sir Bobby Robson stand to our left in this first period. I'll keep you updated with goals going in elsewhere. Already today on Talksport, Everton and Manchester United shared out 4 goals, and Hull won here on Talksport 2 at Sunderland in a blow to Sunderland's automatic promotion hopes. Ipswich bringing the ball forward with Jens Kuyust, who had an excellent game at Tottenham in that win. He finds Liam Delap, who's running at Archie Gray into the area. Left-footed shot, it's blocked on the line, comes out and blocked on the line again. Has he gone in? The referee says no. Offside flag has gone up against Ipswich Town. 2 clearances off the goal line in a matter of seconds, and Tottenham are nearly 1 down inside 30 seconds.
Well, it's an absolutely incredible start, and I said about Ipswich, a fast start for them. It's going to be imperative to get that confidence going. And it was brilliant ball initially, wasn't it, through Delap. I love the way that he runs off the back shoulder on the blind side, and he gets his shot off, does ever so well. Vicario then palms it back into, I think it's Amari Hutchinson. He can't really get anything on it. It's a good piece of defending as well. Then he's on the line when the next shot comes in, trying to get himself out the way. It's a really frantic start to the game, and Spurs have got away with one.
Yeah, Amari Hutchinson actually blocked Jaden Philogene's goal-bound shot and he was impeding Vicario, so it was always going to be given as offside. He was definitely interfering with play, but what a start here on Talksport 2. And Spurs win a free kick as Spence is just brought down shy of the halfway line. I was just saying that Jens Kajust had an excellent game for Ipswich in that win at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in November, and he was just making his breakthrough into the Ipswich starting lineup. He's now partnered by Calvin Phillips. Sam Morsey on the bench today.
Played a big part, didn't he, in that attack there, the way that he picks it up in the pocket just in his own half. Then he's got as well the power to drive forward with the ball and the end product to find Delap.
Delap again down the left hand side of the area. Oh, he's got past Gray, angles tight, rolls it just wide of the post, claims for a corner, not given, but he just decided to muscle his way past Archie Gray down the left hand side of the box, got to the corner of the 6-yard area, but dragged his shot wide at Vicario's left hand post. 0-0.
Far too easy for Liam Delap. That is what I will say is Amari Hutchinson. He does the right thing. He's on the penalty box and the penalty spot rather. But Philogene, he hasn't gambled, and if he does gamble and gets up with the play, that's a tapping for him. But he's near enough midway inside the Spurs half, and that's where Philogene he's got to be gambling and being up with the play.
2.5 minutes gone, and already Ipswich Town have had 2 good chances to take an early lead. Doncaster have taken an early lead in League 2. They've got the best away form in that division. They're 1-0 up at Accrington Stanley through Harry Clifton. And Halifax lead at York. That's FC Halifax Town, if we're going to use full names this afternoon, like Tottenham Hotspur. Adam Senior's given them the lead at York City. Now Udogie for Spurs, getting away down the left-hand side into the area. O'Shea puts him under pressure, and that allows Palmer to come out and claim, who I think got slightly caught in the face by a stray boot from Udogie, as everyone went for the same ball inside the 6-yard box, and Palmer, he's going to be all right. He says at first he needs treatment. The physio was jogging down the touchline, but on his Premier League home debut, Alex Palmer's going to be okay, and he'll have a chance to get the ball downfield from a goal kick. It's 0-0 on Talksport 2, but what a start, Courtney Sweetman, Kirk.
Yeah, it's been breathless. I actually think it's his own teammate O'Shea that catches Palmer in the face, but he does ever so well, Dara O'Shea, the way that I thought Udogie had left him, to be honest. But he makes sure with his angle, he takes the shortest route. He's able to cut the angle off from Udogie and just lean onto him enough, so he just gives his keeper in Alex Palmer enough time to come and collect the ball, and then I think he needs his goalkeeper in the face for the privilege.
FC Halifax Town got a second already at York City. Tom Pugh making it York City 0, FC Halifax Town 2. It's 0-0 here at Portman Road on Talksport 2 on game day. There's other Premier League games that are underway at Bournemouth, Arsenal, Fulham and Southampton. I'll keep you updated with goals that go in around the country. Foul as Tell is brought down. It's my first look at Matisse Tell in a live setting. Still no Dominic Solanke for a little while. Richarlison out injured, perpetually out injured, poor old Ricky. But Matisse Tell brought in the January window, leading the line once again. Ipswich win the ball back through Jayden Philogene on this near side. Phillips steps in and plays it out to the right wing, and Amari Hutchinson, who's clipped by Kevin Danso, and that'll be a free kick to Ipswich, level with the 18-yard line, right on this near touchline as they attack the Sir Ralph Ramsey stand. 0-0.
I love this from Amari Hutchinson, because it's at the start of the play where he's defending, Danso's on the ball and he comes across, he's got no right to get anywhere near it, but head down, pumping his arms, and then he just puts Danso on the weights. It's absolutely brilliant, makes it a bit of a fight scene, and does well then driving down the right hand side and drawing the foul.
Phillips will have the free kick. Solihull Moors near Gateshead 1. Jovan Malcolm for Gateshead. Solihull in a dreadful run of form under Matty Taylor, slipping down the standings. So Calvin Phillips with a free kick from the right hand side, curls it in now into the near post. Header from Delap, hits the post, drops to the edge of the 6-yard box, and it's cleared away back to the edge of the area, and then an acrobatic overhead kick from Philogene sails over the crossbar, and Liam Delap within a lick of paint of giving Ipswich the lead. 5 gone, 0-0.
The start to this game is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic ball in from the right hand side from Kelvin Phillips. And he's got all the pace on it, all the whip on it, so all Delap has to do, I say that, it's a difficult chance, but he's just got to try and get something on it to flick it on. Does really well, probably about 10 yards out, leaps about a foot above everyone else, comes off almost between the crossbar and the post, that top area of the goal, and it was so close.
Liam Delap, 10 goals in the Premier League after his transfer from Manchester City in July. He's already broken Paul Mariner's record for top flight away goals. He scored 5 away from Portman Road. Paul Mariner managed 4 as a record. Barnet lead at Rochdale in the National League, Callum Stead, and Dundee are 1 up at Ross County in the Scottish Premiership. Now Kulusevski loses possession. Kiyusti back to goal, edge of the D, tries to turn away from his man. Gives it instead to Jaden Philogene, right-hand corner of the area. His drive is blocked by Udogie, and then Son Heung-min tucks it in field to Lucas Bergvall. Spurs trying to get a foothold in this game, trying to get out their own half at the moment. Bentancur will lay it back to Archie Gray, playing on the right side of the back four. Kevin Danso playing as the left-sided centre-half. 7 minutes gone on Talksport 2, it's goalless. But it's been practically all Ipswich Town, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, and they nearly got caught out there, didn't they, Spurs, playing out from the back, and I think they're a little bit fortunate that it landed to an Ipswich player, because that's Kulusevski trying to sort of get something on the ball. It's a poor pass out from his goalkeeper. I think he actually pushes an Ipswich player. I think it might be Leif Davis, and yeah, it's just a moment that Spurs can breathe again, because they've been really under pressure in this first 8 minutes.
0-0 on Talksport 2. Cambridge have got the lead. The new management team of Neil Harris and Mark Bonner back at the Abbey, and they lead Stockport by a goal to 0. Josh Stokes. Long ball downfield for Spurs, looking for Udogie, but out came Palmer on his Premier League home debut and calmly collected the ball and then gave the calm down signal to the rest of his back four. And that goalkeeper has been a problem issue. Christian Walton got himself injured, having displaced Ari Muric in recent times, Courtney, but Alex Palmer, it's quite a story. He's been waiting such a long time to make his Premier League debut. He's 28 now. 6 loan clubs before he got the move here. Yeah, brilliant story. He's acquitted himself so well so far, but 28, yes, on the older age of the spectrum, but for a goalkeeper, maybe he's got another 7 or 8 years in him at least. So hopefully this is the start of a long Premier League career for him. Spence for Spurs on the right hand side. Lovely skill to get past Kyrgios and away from Clark. Plays the ball in field to Tell, just by the centre circle. Options to his left, and he goes left for Udogie. Son is holding out on this near side as well. Back it goes from Bergvall to Danso, and now Gray gets his head up, elects not to play the ball forward. He'll just roll it left back for Kevin Danso once again in the centre circle. 9 minutes gone. 0-0 between Ipswich Town and Tottenham Hotspur, to give them their full name, on Talksport 2. Shrewsbury 0, Stevenage 1. The own goal from Aaron Pierre puts Stevenage ahead at the Greenhouse Meadow. Bergvall, who I saw make one of his early appearances, if not his debut. I think Spence made his first appearance of the season at Coventry in the League Cup earlier in the season. I remember he was taken off when Spurs were losing, Bergvall, and the Spurs fans booed that decision because he was one of the few bright sparks that night. Phillips just keeps the ball away from Tell and works it out to the left-hand side. Clips in field, Hutchinson can let the ball run across his body, and he was barged into and obstructed by Son Heung-min, who contests the decision with referee Tim Robinson, but it will be a free kick to Ipswich. By the way, that little jinking run from Jed Spence on the far side, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, that was delightful. That was as good as Kayused a little earlier. Oh, it really was, and the way that, probably a little bit better footwork initially, actually, the way that he has to sort of manipulate the ball in between both feet to find that channel between the two defenders, and then the drive forward. It was lovely to watch. Jacob Greaves forced to pass the ball back to Palmer, clears the ball left-footed first time downfield. Spence heads it infield. Phillips will tidy up for Ipswich Town. Out to Davis on the left-hand side, back in the side after a bit of injury. Connor Townsend's been looking after the left-back berth whilst Davis has been absent. Greaves clips it downfield, but Spence heads it on. Bergvall looks to help it into the edge of the area, but Kulusevski couldn't run onto the ball. But Ipswich's clearance lands on halfway, and Archie Gray tidies up. West Bromwich Albion lead Oxford by a goal to 0. Alex Mowat in the Championship. Blackpool 1 up on Crawley in League One. 10 unbeaten, the Seasiders, starting the day in 12. And Anthony Sarcevic gives Bradford the lead against MK Dons. We were only watching them on Tuesday night, losing that semi-final in the Football League Trophy, but back on league duty, pushing for automatic promotion, the Bantams, and they have the lead. Ipswich win the ball back well inside their own half. Phillips turns away from the attentions of Tell, rolls it back to O'Shea inside the D, and he just gets the gears on and moves away from Tell. Very nice drop of the shoulder, and Ipswich run a throw out on the far side in front of the Cobbold stand. 0-0 here. We've played 11 and a half minutes on Talksport 2.
They look really confident, Ipswich, and you see that obviously the start that they had will help that. They would have hoped to obviously put the ball in the back of the net, but you mentioned that the defenders are stepping out, willing to play, and Kelvin Phillips as well, I think, has done really well. He's always happy to receive the ball under pressure, and we know he's had a period of being really tough for him. Manchester City and then West Ham, but he seems to have found his home again here, hasn't he?
He has. Vicario passes the ball out to Danto. I should mention that save actually that Vicario made from that initial Delap shot inside a minute. It was a really strong left wrist that Guillermo Vicario got on that. They are so delighted to have him back between the sticks, Tottenham Hotspur. Now Son Heung-min on his bike down the left hand side, looking to outpace his man into the area, just holds it up now, rolls it back to Bergvall inside the area, shot blocked by O'Shea, and Greaves clears it in the nick of time to keep it away from Brennan Johnson, who was herring in on 6 yards. Well, Son Heung-min had the beating of Ben Godfrey for pace. Bergvall shot blocked, and Greaves just kept it away from Johnson. 0-0.
Yeah, Son blitzed him for pace. It's as simple as that. Even though he took the inside line, Godfrey couldn't catch him. But that is absolutely brilliant, by the way, from Jacob Greaves. He has to get it right. Brennan Johnson's bearing down. It's either a goal. He's got 3 options. He clears it like he does. It's a goal, or he takes Johnson out for a penalty. So obviously the option that he managed to get right was the best one.
That's former Liverpool and Sheffield United women's striker Courtney Sweetman-Kirk alongside me this afternoon, and she's got to deal with me tomorrow as well, because we're off to the One Call Stadium, Mansfield Town against Wrexham, live on Talksport 2. Before that, on Talksport 2, what a game. These two teams do not like each other. If I just mention the name Watford, Faker of the scowls at me. Watford Luton from noon, and then the top 2 in the Championship meet on Monday night. What a game in prospect. Sheffield United against Leeds United. Make sure you're with us for that. And then all 10 Premier League midweek games are live and exclusive to the Talksport network, whether that's Talksport, Talksport 2, Talk Radio, or the Talksport app, including the likes of Wolves against Fulham and Liverpool Newcastle that I will be at Tuesday and Wednesday night for the Talk Radio network. And Spurs will be playing Manchester City on Tuesday night. And then Forest Arsenal on Wednesday, and Tottenham's Wednesday as well, so both North London clubs on Wednesday night. Anyway, look, all 10 midweek games exclusive to us and nowhere else on national radio. Leif Davis wrestled to the ground, and a yellow card is being issued to Brennan Johnson. Back on his dad's old stomping ground, he gets the first yellow card of the game from Tim Robinson, and it's 0-0.
Yeah, it's probably the right decision, to be honest, from the referee. Leif Davis does ever so well, nips in just before it gets to the feet of Brennan Johnson, and then sort of catches him in an arm lock. It's a cynical one, straight in front of the referee as well.
Tamworth 1, Southend 0 in the National League this afternoon. No goals anywhere else in the Premier League so far in the 3 o'clock game. Some precious few in the Championship either. That West Brom goal against Oxford. There's games at Coventry, Norwich, Portsmouth and Swansea as well this afternoon. 2 managerless teams meeting up at the Swansea.com stadium. Kiyus trying to turn away from Bentancur on halfway, but the Spurs win it back, and Johnson giving chase down the right hand side, but again Jacob Greaves is marshalling him well and let the ball trickle over the dead ball line for a goal kick to Ipswich Town away to our left hand side. It is 0-0 on Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2 here at Portman Road with Sky Sports. Don't forget, you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, like Aston Villa versus Chelsea, live later today. Just search Now Sports. Here's Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
And I've been really impressed with Ipswich in this opening 16 minutes. Obviously, I think first 5 minutes was brilliant. It was frantic. Both sides hadn't settled into the game, and Spurs found a little bit more control of the game, but actually I think Ipswich have certainly had the better chances, looked the more dangerous.
Jack Clark away down the left-hand side, getting into the area. Spence, though, gets round and goes side and wins the ball back well for Tottenham Hotspur. Flicked downfield by Johnson, but Greaves will retrieve it for Ipswich on halfway. Turns away from Tell and works it neatly in field to O'Shea. who gets his header. Gives the ball away to Bergvall, but manages to win the ball back when Bergvall threatened to sprint clear of O'Shea, who was the last man back, just next to his own centre circle. Hairy moment there for Dara O'Shea, but Ipswich keep it at 0-0.
Gets away with one there.
Well, the look on your face was a picture there.
It was, one of those moments, a sharp intake of breath, I think, all around the stadium from the Ipswich fans. And O'Shea, I think his heart must have been in his mouth.
But it stays goalless, and Ipswich would love to keep a clean sheet, and they'd love to get a win in 2025. They're the only Premier League side yet to get a 3-point haul in this calendar year. They went 8 without a win at the start of 1990, way back when. They don't want to extend anywhere near that record. Spurs only 3 wins in 11 against these opponents, and they haven't won in 4, including that defeat at home in the autumn. Here's Son Heung-min, though, getting into the area, left-hand side, faced up by Godfrey. Bit of twinkle toes from Son, pulls it across the face of goal, and it's touched in by Brennan Johnson. And back on his dad's old stomping ground, Brennan Johnson shushes the Bobby Robson stand and puts Tottenham in front, as Son weaved his magic down the left-hand side of the box, squared it across the face of goal. Johnson couldn't miss, poking it home from a couple of yards out, and Ipswich find themselves behind and yet again cannot keep a clean sheet. 18 minutes gone. It's Ipswich 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1.
Well, it's Ben Godfrey getting caught again, this one. I think initially he goes in. I think it might be Tell that drops in for the initial little setback to go. He goes with him, he doesn't switch on, and then when he does manage to get back in, his body shape and his positioning to try and defend Son leaves so much for either side. O'Shea comes over as well. Neither of them do very well, let's put it that way. But we have to look at Son, the way that he drives forward, he commits defenders, and then this is perfect for any centre forward in terms of the ball goes across, it's 2 yards out. Brennan Johnson, he can hardly miss any sort of contact in there. It's in the back of the net, and that's all the hard work from Son.
That's Brennan Johnson's first Premier League goal in 2025. 8 in all for the season. Ipswich trying to respond as Jaden Philogene tries to bring the ball down 25 yards out. One back by Jack Clark. Now Philogene 30 yards from goal, doesn't go for goal. Instead he works it to the right-hand corner of the area, and Jaden Philogene. Spurs 1-0 up then on Talksport 2. 19 gone at Portman Road. Ipswich attacking the Sir Ralph Ramsey stand to our right in this first half. In possession with Calvin Phillips. Godfrey slides it into Philogene's path on the right wing. Another quick ball down the right for Hutchinson to the byline. Fires it across the face of goal. Clark with a header. Comfortable catch underneath his crossbar from Vicario. 1-0 Spurs.
Yeah, and it's a good reaction, but it's always going to be difficult, this one, because the way that Clark is near on, I think 17 yards out probably, and it almost just hits him. He's almost having to backtrack a little bit to try and get his head on the ball, and from there it's going to be difficult to beat Vicario.
Blackpool 2-0 up on Crawley now in League One. Niall Ennis with the second for the Seasiders, and Ross County level with Dundee in Scotland. That's 1-1 as well. 1-0 here to Ange Postecoglou's side. But Ipswich have shown plenty in these early stages. 20 minutes gone. Philogene works it neatly in field to Delap. Delap in the centre of the Spurs half. Turns, fires it, goal was deflection corner. Really let fly there, Liam Delap. But it was blocked at the edge of the box. Not sure whether it was going to be on target, but it's a corner anyway to Ipswich, where the Cobbold stand meets the Sir Ralph Ramsey.
Yeah, and why not have a go? Don't get me wrong, Leif Davis on the left-hand side was in a fantastic position to be played, but 25 yards out. Liam Delap has obviously got all the confidence in the world at the moment, and sometimes those deflect and go in the back of the net, but luckily for Tottenham it's a corner.
So Davis, socks rolled down Grealish style, will take the corner, left-footed out swinger into the near post. It goes over the head of Jack Clark, half cleared by Spurs. Philogene picks it up, goes for goal, and it rasps over the crossbar. I think Vicario had it covered, but Jaden Philogene gave that a fearful thump from 30 yards out, and it whistled over the crossbar, dipping all the way, but not enough to get it on target. 21 minutes gone on Talksport 2. Ipswich Town 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1.
I love this reaction from Ipswich, trying to put Spurs under pressure as quickly as possible, and Philogene, we know he can score some spectacular goals, we've seen it. in the EFL especially, so why not have a go from there?
Vicario's clearance was poor, and Phillips fires it forward to Kayust, who works it out to Jayden Philogene, right hand corner of the area, can't get past Udogie, just stood his ground, Destiny Udogie, let the player come to him and then dispossessed him. Kulusevski can't keep it in play on this near side, and Ipswich get a throw on this near side, just to the right of where Kieran McKenna is stood at the edge of his technical area. Ben Godfrey to take it quickly infield for Calvin Phillips, gives it back to the former Everton man, and now Dara O'Shea in possession inside his own half. Phillips decides to go all the way back to the goalkeeper Alex Palmer, stood inside the D away to our left, and chips the ball over halfway. Delap scrapping for it with Gray, gets the better of him. Danso now goes out to engage as Delap tries to work his way down the left-hand side. Manages to keep it in play, does he? No, a goal kick's been given. He really out-muscled Archie Gray at first, Liam Delap, but Kevin Danso was not going to have the same done to him. It's Charlton 1, Exeter 0. Angus MacDonald, freshly arrived at Exeter, has scored an own goal to put Charlton ahead at the Valley, and Hartlepool lead Aldershot in the National League. That's Tyler Frost with the goal for Pools. Ian Danter and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk with you here at Portman Road. Faye Carruthers here too. You'll hear from Faye at half-time. She'll give you a rundown of all the half-time scores. Ipswich trying to win the ball back, but Bergvall ties up Danso with a little Cruyff turn at the edge of the D, kept the ball away from Amari Hutchinson. Southampton 0, Brighton 1. João Pedro putting Brighton ahead in El Clasicost. It's not called that, but I just thought I'd say it anyway.
It might catch on, you never know.
Davis down the left-hand side for Ipswich, pulls it back to the edge of the 18-yard line. Delap turns and shoots, and it's straight at Vicario. Probably not quite the pace that Delap would have wanted on the shot, but he does not hide. He is willing as anybody to mix it over the centre halves and get those half chances away. But it's still Tottenham leading.
Yeah, obviously it's not his best shot there, but we spoke earlier, didn't we, me and Faye, and she was asking me, could he do it in an England shirt? And certainly for me, it's got a little bit of everything. Like you say, he can mix it. He obviously knows where the goal is, but similar stature, I would say, to Harry Kane, but different profile in terms of got more power and more pace to trouble defenders as well. And he's certainly had a bright start to this game.
It won't be long before Thomas Tuchel names his first England squad ahead of the March international break. And every England manager, when they first come in, makes a couple of selections that nobody necessarily expected. We'll have to wait and see. Davis fires the ball into the area. Lovely cushion control on the instep of Rodrigo Bentancur. And then Kulusevski out to the right-hand side for the goal scorer, Brennan Johnson. 24 minutes gone. If you're just tuning into Game Day Exclusive on Talksport 2, Ipswich went off like an express train, had 3 great chances to take the lead, none of which came off, and then Brennan Johnson tucking the ball away to put Spurs ahead after good work down the left-hand side of the box from Son Heung-min. Grimsby 1, Fleetwood 0 in League 2. George McEachran for the Mariners, who are 9th in the table, just outside the League 2 playoffs after 3 straight wins. Earlier today, Everton and Man United 2-2. Wins for Millwall, Hull, Barnsley, Crewe and Walsall in the EFL. Plymouth and Cardiff and Reading and Birmingham shared the points in their games. Here's Rodrigo Bentancur for Tottenham, and he's getting Son Heung-min again away. Down the left-hand side of the area, once again past Godfrey. Who's he going to tee up? Tees up Johnson! Same combination, same result. Even better scoreline for Tottenham Hotspur. Once again, Son Heung-min in behind Ben Godfrey. Didn't need to go to the byline this time. And Brennan Johnson was hanging back about 12 yards out. The pullback found him, and he just stroked it home with ease. And Spurs are 2 up inside the half hour. And relegation threatened Ipswich have it all to do in front of their own. It's Ipswich Town 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Yeah, Ben Godfrey is really struggling. It's slightly different this time. Initially on the first goal, he steps in and he can't recover himself. But this, there's no excuse. His body shape is so flat, it's incredible. And Son brought himself his width on the left-hand side, but he doesn't even know he's there. He's not even checking his shoulder. He's so flat to the play and watching where the ball is. He gets caught out, but again, we can't take away from what Son does. He's very clever. He's on the back shoulder. He knows Godfrey is struggling. And then it's about
can you deliver in the box again? Of course he can, finding Brennan Johnson for the second time in this game, and it's a slightly easier finish than the first one, but again, a player of Brennan Johnson's quality, you're expecting him to put it in the back of the net, which he did.
So after no goals up till today in 2025, like your regulation North London bus, suddenly 2 come along at once for Brennan Johnson. He's on 9 for the season in the Premier League. And there'll be plenty of Ipswich fans sat around us in the stadium wondering how on earth the scoreline is like this. But the 2 goals have come from the same source, and here's Son again, being fed at the edge of the area. Again, he's got Godfrey backpedaling. Son's going to go for goal, blocked by the feet of Palmer, and it goes behind for a corner kick. And Tottenham are just attacking at will down their left-hand side, and Ipswich's right-hand side of their defence just cannot cope at the moment. 2-0 Spurs.
You need to bring Godfrey off. I don't like to really pinpoint players, but there, the ball's come into Son. He's done a 360 in terms of the way that he's turned. He can't sort his feet out, and he's done a 360, and he doesn't know where Son is, where the ball is, when he should be dropping off, when he should be going. I think Kieran McKenna needs to take him off to protect him.
27 minutes gone, 2-0 Spurs. They've got a corner at the Bobby Robson stand end where it meets the West stand, just down to our left-hand side. Son's going to take it, right-footed, in-swing, a real pace on that corner. Palmer punches it up in the air. Danso wins a header inside the box, and then Greaves gets it outside the 18-yard area. Ball hits the referee as Kulusevski was trying to feed it back through to the 18-yard line. And the referee's just explaining that Kulusevski can't play on. He's got to do the uncontested drop ball thing, so that the ball can be given back to Spurs a bit further back down the pitch. So 28 minutes gone on Talksport 2. Spurs in control. When they weren't in control, certainly territorially, in the first 5 or 10 minutes, they were given a stern examination by Ipswich Town, but now they find themselves 2 goals clear. Spence, 15 yards inside the Ipswich half of the field, gives it back to Archie Gray, who's been playing an awful lot of football with players missing through injury at the back, in particular for Tottenham Hotspur. And Gray has really stepped up, the youngster, in possession again now, just by the centre spot. Danso receives it just to his left, gets his head up. Again, Tottenham looking down this left-hand side in front of us for Son Heung-min. Gets the ball away from Philogene, and then Udogie gives it back to Son, and once again he was slightly goal side of Godfrey, but on this occasion Calvin Phillips came back round to help dispossess Son, and Ipswich have it back.
And that's one of the problems as well. So when you know one of your players is struggling, Philogene's come back probably deeper than he would like to. Calvin Phillips is doing the same there, and then actually that takes away from your threat going forward, and yeah, it's a difficult one. But again, as a Spurs player, if you Son Heung-min, for example, and I'm in that position, I'm thinking, right, give me the ball every time. You're saying to your teammates, he's struggling, give me the ball and we'll get at them that side.
That's Courtney Sweetman-Cook. You can hear alongside me today, former Sheffield United and Liverpool women's striker, as Kayusti makes a lovely run for Ipswich over halfway, skips away from 2, tried to feed it out left for Davis, but played the ball behind the left back, who couldn't adjust his feet and keep the ball in play. So Tottenham have a throw in front of their supporters on that far side. They lead on the half hour by 2-0 here on Talksport 2.
It's a shame for Kayusti there, because he does well initially in terms of the way that, again, he's showing in the pockets. He's picking the ball up, the quick manipulation to get out of trouble, but that time the ball into his teammate Leif Davis was really poor.
Well, it's currently Ipswich 0, Tottenham Hotspur 2, and for the latest odds, head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Ipswich to win at 2-1, Spurs to win at 11-2 on. The draw is priced at 6-1. That's all thanks to William Hill. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org is the website. In the Championship, Coventry City lead Preston North End by 1-0. Former Huddersfield midfielder Jack Rodoni has put the Sky Blues ahead, making a bit of a charge for the playoffs. 1 point off 6th after Bristol City's win last night against Middlesbrough. Ipswich coming forward at 2-0 down here with Leif Davis chipping the ball into the edge of the area, half cleared by Bentancur, one back by Jaden Philogene, up to the edge of the D, but he runs into traffic, and between Bergvall and Kulusevski they get it half clear, but Ipswich will get it back. It's a slightly hurried clearance. Newport 0, Cheltenham 1. Matty Taylor for Cheltenham at Rodney Parade. And Blackpool 2, Crawley 1. Kamari Doyle gets one back for Crawley. And Bromley 1, Harrogate 0 in League 2. You're up to date on Talksport 2. Only one goal elsewhere in the Premier League so far. That's come at St Mary's, where Brighton lead by a goal to 0. Bournemouth, Wolves, Arsenal, West Ham and Fulham Palace all still goalless. And Ben Godfrey got booked. Who got booked there? Jack Clark got booked there whilst I was yakkering on. What did he do, Courtney Sweetman and Kirk?
Yeah, it was just a bit of a late challenge on Jed Spence, one of those where he's trying to push forward, trying to win the ball back, but Spence is very clever, moved the ball on quickly. He's still down though, Spence, and he's just about getting to his feet now, but I think it's one of them where Jack Clark goes over the top of the ball, studs on the top of the foot of Jed Spence.
Well, this is not necessarily good news for Ipswich fans, but it's still Bournemouth 0, Wolves 0, but Bournemouth are down to 10 at the Vitality. Ilya Zabanyi's been given a straight red. He's been upgraded by VAR to a red card. He was initially given a booking, but it's been upgraded to red, and Bournemouth, against similarly relegation-threatened Wolves, much like Ipswich, are going to be playing against 10 men for the rest of the afternoon at the Vitality.
It's an interesting one, that is, isn't it? And you look at Wolves, and especially when you've got a player like Cunha, I always think that could be a little bit of a trump card when you've got a player of that ability in your squad. You can always find something out of nothing.
Another red card happened in League One. Blackpool just been pegged back for 2-1 against Crawley, and Ashley Fletcher, former West Ham and Manchester United striker, has been sent off for Steve Bruce's men. Dundee United lead Motherwell in Scotland, Sam Dolby, and Norwich leads Stoke in the Championship, Lewis Dobbin with the goal for the Canaries. Just down the road here at Portman Road from Carrow Road. I say down the road, it's not exactly next door, is it? But Ipswich Town have got a lot of work to do here. Encouraged by the first 10 minutes, but undone twice down the right-hand side of their defence by Son Heung-min. 2 assists for 2 goals by Brennan Johnson. 12 to half-time.
Yeah, and look, Ipswich again, they've had a decent reaction to the second goal, and I do think they've got the ability to score in this game, but it's just that danger every time it goes down the Spurs left-hand side, the Ipswich right, just fills you with dread. And Son Heung-min, you see it every time they get the ball, he's itching for it, on his bike, getting behind Ben Godfrey because he knows how many problems he's already caused.
Kulusevski, midway point of his own half, tight to the far touchline. Toe pokes it up to halfway, but it's intercepted by O'Shea. Fires into the feet of Philogene. Bergdahl comes across the centre of the half and just toe pokes the ball away from opponents, and then glides down this near side of the Tottenham left, trying to get Udogie away, but O'Shea will put it out of play for a throw. Don't forget, boxing from 5 o'clock this evening on Talksport 2. We'll be off to Riyadh. Loads of incredible bouts on one of the greatest cards that boxing's ever seen, including the rematch Berbetiev versus Bivol. And we'll switch to Talksport from 8 o'clock with the boxing, and then once we've done that, here on Talksport 2 at 8 o'clock, Super League, Castleford against St Helens in week 2 of Super League, and then we'll bring you PGA Golf, the Mexican Open, from around 10 o'clock tonight. And then we've got those 2 live EFL games for you tomorrow here on Talksport 2 from noon. Watford against Luton. Our coverage starts at 11:45. And then Mansfield, Wrexham. Courtney and myself will be at the One Call Stadium. And we'll be on air from around 2:45 for a 3 o'clock kickoff in the East Midlands. Calvin Phillips for Ipswich. Played into the area. Hutchinson! What a lovely goal to get Ipswich back in it. Ball was rolled back to Hutchinson by Leif Davis, and he ran onto it at the edge of the D and cracked it home with his left foot. Bit of hope inside Portman Road now. 10 to half time. An emphatic finish from Amari Hutchinson makes it Ipswich 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
It's a brilliant finish, Danson. It's a difficult one, but Hutchinson makes it look easy. And yet again, Calvin Phillips is there, ratting about. He manages to get the ball and play it through to Leif Davis. The weight of pass was excellent. It's actually Jack Clark. The weight of passing behind him is brilliant, so he can take it first time. Ball in for Hutchinson, and he strikes it with his left foot. He's coming across from his left-hand side, and that's why this is so difficult. But he manages to let it run across his body just enough, and he's got the power and precision and the strike to get it past Vicario. And the side netting and that right-hand corner, that is a wonderful finish.
Third goal of the season for Omari Hutchinson. Just a little extra cheer as everyone realises that VAR's not going to intervene and prevent it. And now there's a real lift around Portman Road. There's a high press now from Ipswich as the ball's rolled back to Vicario. Passes out hurriedly to Danso. And Danso, does he want to throw? He has on this near side. Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1. So Ipswich need to get back into this game because Matthias Cunha has put Wolves ahead against the 10 men of Bournemouth. Coventry have doubled their lead against Preston at the Coventry Building Society Arena. Bobby Thomas making it 2-0 there in the Midlands. Here in East Anglia, well, they deserved that goal, not necessarily for the last 5 minutes, but probably for the first 10 minutes, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, Ipswich.
Yeah, they certainly did, and it's a well-worked goal, actually. Yes, initially it's just a long ball up. I think it was Delap that initially competes for the ball, but at that point, Kelvin Phillips first to the ball. Good way to pass through to Jack Clark, and the pull back just as good. And yeah, the finish from Omari Hutchinson is high tariff, but he gets it spot on. Great
chest down from Liam Delap, trying to get Kayust into the game as the ball's fired into him from the halfway line. He's in the mood today, Liam Delap. There's no doubt about that. You're listening to Ipswich 1, Tottenham 2 on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes, so if you've got a plan, they've got a van. And I've just realised I called them Tottenham. Does that mean I get, 50 lashes or something? Slap on the wrist from Faker Others. There you go. Jack Clark for Ipswich, trying to wriggle away from Archie Gray down the left-hand side of the area. Gray does well, protects the ball and then rolls it calmly into the feet of Jed Spence. Tell, dispossessed by Jacob Greaves. And now here's Davis again into the area. Tees up Hutchinson once again at the edge of the box. This time the shot has nowhere near the power of the goal he scored, and it just trickles through to Vicario. Ipswich 1, Spurs 2.
He doesn't catch it well enough, does he, with his right foot? But you can see and you can hear the noise in this stadium. The atmosphere has completely changed now. Godfrey's just caught Son Heung-min there late, but it's because they've got that feeling. Their tails are up. They want to high press Spurs again. It's a really good reaction, but it is a late challenge from Godfrey.
So he's going to be spoken to by referee Robinson and yellow carded as well for his trouble. So not having a good afternoon. All ends up Ben Godfrey. Son is back on his feet. The Spurs will have a free kick. 2-1 here to the visitors. Elsewhere, Swansea have taken the lead in the Championship against Blackburn. Zan Vipotnik for the Swans. Joachim Andersen scored an own goal against his old club, so Palace lead at Fulham in the Premier League. Fulham 0, Crystal Palace 1. And down in League 2, Colchester United, who've been on a pretty good run of form under the Cowley brothers, 7 unbeaten, but they're up against AFC Wimbledon today, who are 11 unbeaten, and the Dons are in front in that game. Marcus Brown putting AFC Wimbledon ahead. 2-1 to Spurs, who have the ball on halfway with the man that scored both their goals. Brennan Johnson rolls the ball back into his own half. Destiny Udogie now picks it up on the halfway line left-hand side. Plays a short 1-2 with Son, and now works it back to Danso. Bergvall receives it now, still inside his own half. And Ipswich are allowing Spurs to have it at times, but there are trigger movements, according to Sweetman-Kirk, where they will push on and have a high press, but right now they're letting Spurs have it until probably the edge of the centre circle.
Yeah, they are for the moment, and they'll pick and choose, because sort of 30 seconds, a minute ago, they went on the high press in the Tottenham Hotspur box. So we know high press, and we spoke about it, this physicality, what it does to players. So you have to pick and choose your moments, especially when you're the underdogs, as you'd say Ipswich are at the moment. So you can't do that for 90 minutes, but they're picking and choosing their moments well, I think.
5 minutes to half-time on Talksport 2. Ipswich Town 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Aberdeen take the lead against Kilmarnock in the Scottish Premiership, Jeppe Ockels. And here comes Spurs with Rodrigo Bentancur. Pace up to the edge of the area. Right footed shot, great save. Low down by Palmer. Got down low very quickly. Pushed it away and Greaves nodded it behind for a Tottenham Hotspur corner.
Comes from a throw on the left-hand side. Leif Davis is sort of a longer throw infield to try and find Amari Hutchinson, who's caught on his heels, to be quite honest. And then Spurs go forward from there. Do really well to exploit the space, but Alex Palmer yet again coming up with a big save.
Keeps it at 2-1 to Tottenham Hotspur. So Son will take the corner where the Cobbold stand meets the Sir Bobby Robson stand. So a right-footed outswinger to come from the Spurs captain. In it comes to the near post, just flies over the head of Johnson, who's on a hat-trick. Drops for Tell, 30 yards out, swings the ball back into the box, headed up and out by Delap, back helping out his defenders. Ball breaks in midfield, and it's a chance of a counter-attack on for Ipswich Town, but Clark has to hold play up inside his own half as Johnson cut off the route down the left-hand side. Bolton 0, Leyton Orient 1 in League One. That's 8th against 6th, and Charlie Kelman's giving the O's the lead at the Tough Sheet Community Stadium. Udogie clears the ball up into the air off a Ipswich head. Now Tell's gone down, claiming he's hurt. Referee allows play to continue, and Udogie's just rolled the ball out of play so his teammate can get some treatment. He's face planted down in the turf just by the halfway line, and Ange Postecoglou's not happy at all with the foul that led to Tell going down, and he's giving the fourth official, David Webb, a very stern talking to. Meanwhile, Tell's just getting back onto his knees and should be okay and doesn't need too much treatment. 2-1 to Tottenham Hotspur, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
No, it's not a head injury, so there's obviously the argument, is it a foul, is it not? But in terms of continuing to play while there's a player on the ground, they all know the rules just as well as Ange does as well. If it's not a head injury, then the referee, if he doesn't think it's a foul, isn't at liberty to stop the game.
It's amazing how many players don't seem to understand that particular rules and regulations of the game. Cambridge United, bottom of League One, with that new management team I mentioned earlier. Wow, 2-0 up against Stockport County, and a second for Josh Stokes. Cambridge United 2, Stockport County 0. Barnet 2-0 up at Rochdale in the National League. And Tell is going to be back on in just a moment. We have our obligatory television monitor shot of Ed Sheeran.
Is that Rupert Grint as well? Next to
it is Rupert Grint with the shades on.
You can tell I was a Harry Potter fan.
Spotter's badge for Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. I don't think there were any scenes in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban where he put a pair of shades on, so you've done well there. Port Vale 1, Salford City 0, and West Ham lead at Arsenal. Jared Bowen makes it Arsenal 0, West Ham United 1. With Liverpool not playing until tomorrow against Manchester City. Very best coverage and updates of that game, plus all of Sunday's action on the Sunday session on Talksport with Sam Matterface from 1:30. Perry Groves and Mickey Gray will be alongside Sam. 3 minutes of added time that we're about to move into here at the end of the first half. Still in the last minute of the 45. Tell's back on, so we're back to the full complement, 11 against 11. Spence for Tottenham, 2-1 up. Fires a diagonal ball downfield. Godfrey lets it go behind for a goal kick. Just thought for half a second there, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, that Son might just be letting the ball run across Godfrey so he could toe end it away from him, but the ball went behind for a goal kick. 2-1 to Tottenham.
I must admit, I was wincing because I thought, I can see what's coming here, but Godfrey does ever so well, and actually he's recovered just about. I think there's a mixture of Ipswich have gone forward more and Spurs haven't had that much of the ball, so they haven't been able to exploit that right hand side of Ipswich, but yeah, he's switched his head round really well.
We're into that 3 minutes of additional time at the end of the first half. Kulusevski releases Son again down the left hand side up to the edge of the area, goes for a shot. This time it's blocked by Godfrey and comes out to this near side where it's picked up by Dejan Kulusevski. Rolls the ball in field to his captain. Son has to turn away back to the halfway line. Keeps possession well though. Bentancur thought about just chipping the ball over the top to try and get Udogie in behind the Ipswich backline, but instead Spurs have it back now in the centre circle with Bentancur. Kulusevski tries a flick to get Tell away, intercepted by Spence, and Tell again drifting out to the area right hand side up against Greaves, holds his run for a moment. And we'll just give it back to Brennan Johnson. Spence now for Tottenham Hotspur. 35 yards from goal. Flicks it right to Johnson once more. Tell. will give it back to Bentancur. Patient now from the visitors as Gray squares it for Danso with Doggy. Faced up by Jaden Philogene. And back it goes across to Rodrigo Bentancur. We've played just over a minute of the minimum 3 that have been added on at the end of this first half on Talksport 2. Here is Kevin Danso, one of the recent arrivals at Tottenham Hotspur. Mickey van der Ven not far away from coming back. Christian Romero probably a little bit longer. No Ben Davies today in the Spurs squad. Here's Kulusevski, runs straight to Leif Davies, who hit it so hard. There were supporters there on the 6th or 7th row of that lower tier of the Cobalt stand who suddenly had to duck out the way because that ball was hit with some venom by the Ipswich left back to hit it out for a throw.
I actually think there's sort of fans behind as well in the corporate bit, and even though they knew they had obviously the glass between them, the winces and movements out of the way was quite comical.
Yeah. Norwich 1, Stoke 1. Lewis Baker, who scored that extraordinary goal from inside his own half last weekend, has equalised at Carrow Road. Don't know whether it's quite as spectacular as what he did at the Bet365, but all the same, it's 1-1 in Norfolk. Swansea 2-0 up on Blackburn Rovers. Miles Peart-Harris puts Swansea further clear in the Championship. Southampton, Brighton 1-0 to Brighton. It's a half-time score in the Premier League. West Ham 1-0 up at Arsenal, and Liam Delap penalised for just pulling at the shirt of Archie Gray, who was last man and looked in a little bit of discomfort for a moment, but the referee Tim Robinson saw that as a foul.
He's right, but Delap does himself a disservice, I think, because if he doesn't put hands on Archie Gray there, you're right, Dance is in all sorts of bother, but it comes again from really aggressive press from Ipswich.
Well, the referee's whistle has gone for half-time, and Ipswich players are jogging off the pitch. They want to get straight to the dressing room and get some advice from their manager Kieran McKenna. They started so quickly in this game. Liam Delap seeing Vicario save his early effort, then he had a header that he glanced onto the angle of post and bar after a breakneck start from the hosts, but then on 18 minutes Spurs hit the front. Son Heung-min got the better of Ben Godfrey down the left-hand side for the visitors, and this cross from the dead ball line poked in from 2 yards by Johnson, and then the same combination of players got Spurs second. Similar sort of goal, although Son Heung-min crossed from not quite as deep, and Johnson, who was about 12 yards out, with a very cool, calm, left-footed finish. Amari Hutchinson with the best goal of the half, though, got Ipswich back in it just less than 10 minutes from half-time, fed by Davis from the left, first-time left-footed effort from the edge of the D, cracked into the far corner to give Ipswich fans a semblance of hope at half-time here at Portman Road. Full second-half commentary to come. It is Ipswich Town 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
Thank you very much, Ian Dancer. Faye Carruthers with you at half-time here. Courtney, that was a cracking 45 minutes of football. More of the same, please, in the second half. And as Dan says, Ipswich not out of this one.
No, not by any stretch. I think the first 5 minutes was so frantic, and Ipswich actually could have had a couple of goals at that point, and then the momentum changes a little bit. I think Spurs wrestle some control of the game. Ben Godfrey on that right-hand side has been struggling, and I think they managed the game well, Spurs, in terms of recognising that and going, right, we're going to put him under some real pressure now, which they did. Son Heung-min obviously has got so much experience and knew that he could get at him. Brennan Johnson, I mean, 2 relatively easy goals, the first one more so, but you've got to be in and about, you've got to be in the right place at the right time, which he was. But I always thought that there'd be a goal from Ipswich and they'd try and get themselves back in it. Really well worked, and as Dan said, the goal from Amari Hutchinson was the best of the day for me. And I think they've picked and chosen their moments, Ipswich. We just saw it just at the end of the half where they're trying to press, they're being aggressive, and yeah, this game is by no means done. I think we're going to have a really good second half.
Yeah, I agree with you. And actually, I don't think Ben Godfrey will come off. I know you were worried about him, but he really improved that last time of 10-15 minutes of the game. He was being done on Tottenham's left-hand side repeatedly. But actually, he made a really crucial block just before the end of the first half, and he's kind of recovered himself very well.
Yeah, he has. And it was, I wasn't saying, bring him off, because is
No, you were
terrible.
genuinely,
But
you were
for
genuinely
protection.
worried.
And that's the thing, you know,
for him, yeah.
sometimes when your players get in that, and I thought if Spurs score a third goal now and it's his fault, you worry for a player and what that does to their mental state. But you're right, he's recovered really well. The only thing I will say with that is I think in terms of Dara O'Shea and Philogene, they're coming back a bit too much to cover for him at times. So there was a moment where you're right, he makes a really good block, but Dara O'Shea had come across a lot, and that left so much of a gap in the 18-yard box. And I think if Spurs see that and pop it round, they probably get a third goal. So again, it's about those players being able to recognise, yes, he's had a bit of a shocker in the first half hour, but he's recovered himself, and we can't overcover because that will leave gaps. But yeah, he's done really well mentally to be able to recover that situation, and the Ipswich are right back in this game.
Yep, they certainly are. It's going to make for a very exciting second half of football, that is for sure. Grab yourselves a coffee, back with you very shortly. It's been an entertaining Premier League first 45 minutes in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. Elsewhere, Arsenal trailing West Ham by 1-0. A free header for Jared Bowen on the 44th minute means that Arsenal are behind at home to West Ham, with Liverpool playing at Manchester City tomorrow. Wolves are one up against Bournemouth, who are down to 10 after Ilya Zabani was sent off. They were punished by Mateus Cunha, who put them ahead. Big boost for Wolves in their survival hopes. Crystal Palace are a goal up against Fulham. It's all the away side scoring in the Premier League this afternoon. Joaquin Anderson with an own goal against his former side, meaning that Palace lead Fulham at the moment at Craven Cottage. And Brighton are also up away at Southampton. João Pedro scored their goal early on in that game. We've got a 5:30 kickoff coming up, so let's look ahead to this weekend's Premier League action with Sky Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream Sky Sports Big Weekend, including Aston Villa versus Chelsea, live today. Available with no contract on Now. Search Now Sports. 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
Talksport's Adam Bridge is at Villa Park, ahead of Aston Villa against Chelsea. How are you, Adam?
Very good, thank you, Faye. The sun is shining, and I almost can take my coat off.
Do you know what? We've had double figures in terms of the weather today. I'm very delighted about it. I have 2 less layers than I normally do this time of year. Look, I was at Villa Park last weekend, and Villa's home form at the moment really dodgy in the Premier League. Obviously, we know they're doing brilliant stuff in the Champions League. They've obviously drawn Club Bruges in the knockout, so they're expected to progress. Do you feel as if they've maybe let the Premier League, taken their eye off the Premier League a little bit?
Yeah, very much so. I think, they are unbeaten in the last 13 here in the Premier League, but 7 of those have been draws, and it's been against the teams like West Ham and Ipswich in and around the lower half of the table that they've found themselves having real difficulties. But they are making problems for themselves. Defensive errors seem to be their big issue. We witnessed it on Wednesday night, obviously with their first goal, which they gifted to Liverpool, and 7 times in their last 11 games they've made mistakes that have led to errors. Now, there is mitigating circumstances around that. They haven't named an unchanged back line since that last clean sheet against Everton. That was 6 Premier League games ago, and they've actually changed centre-backs in each of the last 4 Premier League games. They're going to have to do it today as well, because Disasi, of course, can't play against his parent club. So you look at that, they're 19 goals fewer as well than they had at this stage last season. So they've got problems at both ends of the field.
Yeah, it's difficult for them, but to be honest, they're playing a Chelsea side who are struggling themselves. Not a single shot on target against Brighton the other week. First time that's happened in 3.5 years, and I don't quite know what's gone wrong for Enzo Maresca's side, because we were talking about them being effectively the best of the rest and maybe making a late push for the top 4.
Christmas Day they were second. I mean, in the 9 games subsequently they've scored, they've accrued just 9 points.
Crazy.
And that's never going to keep you in the top 2. I mean, let's be honest, he did, and he reiterated it again in his press conference this week. He never said they were contenders for the Champions League or for the title. No, he was always very clear, we aren't there yet, and the project doesn't change. But it's up top that the problems seem to be. They've obviously been very reliant on Cole Palmer. He's obviously not scored in the last 4. He's never gone 5 without scoring since he moved to Chelsea. So that's going to be an interesting one. But Nkunku hasn't scored in 8. I think Sancho's got 1 in 10. Neto 1 in 11. I think we can see where the problem is. And they're not performing as their XG should be. I don't know if you love XG, hate XG, but it does give you an indication over a period of time to say that they're not putting their chances away. And at the same time, although it's been a problem for them throughout the season, they don't keep very many clean sheets. It's 6 on the road without a victory. So both these teams, bearing in mind mind that Villa haven't won in the last 5. Don't come into this in the best of Premier League form, so it should be a fairly intriguing encounter, which I think Villa will take a lot of heart from the performance on Wednesday night against Liverpool, whereas Chelsea's performance against Brighton, as you have alluded to, was damn awful.
Yeah, it really was. I hope you get a good game. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
I got goals at Burnley last night, Faye, so I can't complain. Finally got goals at Burnley.
You got 4 of them. Incredible. What a record they're on. 12 clean sheets in a row now for Burnley. Hopefully you get goals this afternoon, Adam. Adam Bridge there. He'll be bringing you updates over on Talksport during the game day phone-in. That was a look ahead to this afternoon's Premier League action with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on now, just like Aston Villa against Chelsea live today. Search Now Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream Sky Sports Big Weekend, including Aston Villa versus Chelsea live today. Available with no contract on now. Search Now Sports. 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
Second half action of Ipswich against Tottenham coming next here on Talksport 2 on Game Day exclusive, and we'll also bring you the half-time classifieds.
Talksport 2, official broadcast partner of the English Football League.
Game Day exclusive with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Rent from the best lineup in the UK. Enterprise has 450 branches with all the vehicles your business needs.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Watching the big game cozied up in the snug.
Another 7-0 win!
Balmy summer nights with the kids playing on the lawn.
We're playing real-life football!
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of April 2024 and 30th of June 2024 was under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
With up to 30% off selected bedroom storage at IKEA. Lee bought a bedside table to store all the bits for their new knitting knack. So when it's more knot than knitwear, they can put it all in one place. Visit IKEA for all your bedroom storage needs. IKEA, the wonderful everyday. Available online and in store for IKEA family members only from 14th of February to 2nd of March. Subject to availability.
The new £5 meal deal from McDonald's. Get a cheeseburger or mayo chicken, medium fries, 4 McNuggets and a medium soft drink for guess what? That's right, £5. It's not called the £5 meal deal for nothing. From 11 a.m. Not available on delivery. Carbonated soft drink upgrade fees apply. Participating restaurants subject to availability.
At Screwfix, we've locked in the prices of a wide range of everyday van essentials, like the 50-litre 30-pack heavy-duty rubble sacks at £7.99, WD-40 at £6.98, and 380ml no-nonsense decorator's cork at £2.50. We've got your back with prices you can rely on the products you use the most. In stock and ready to go, saving you the hassle of shopping around. Order on the app and collect in-store today. Prices valid until at least 6th of April. Visit screwfix.com for T's and C's. Delivery charges and restrictions apply.
The season is shaping up, and whether they're going for glory or going down, it's all to play for. Get the ultimate football coverage with the Sun's free pull-out goals. With the best writers pitchside for in-depth match reports, it's all about goals. And with unrivaled news from the Premier League to League Two, it has to be goals. Stay up to date on all the latest football action. Get your free copy of Goals every Saturday, Sunday and Monday, only in the Sun.
You don't just check in to a village hotel. You work out. You jump in. You play on. You tuck in. And drink up. Village Hotels. 33 locations with everything under one roof. A huge gym with pool and great membership opportunities. And a buzzing pub and grill with delicious food, ice-cold beers and live sport. Check out villagehotels.com and work out, stay, meet and play.
Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Stream Sky Sports Big Weekend, including Aston Villa versus Chelsea live today. Available with no contract on now. Search Now Sports. 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
Game Day.
Feel the passion and the pride of the Premier League.
Goal-getting radio.
What a turn, what a goal!
Game Day exclusive
On Talksport 2.
This is Game Day.
Half-time classifieds.
Thanks Thanks for being with us this afternoon for Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2. Faker Others with you. Second half of Ipswich Spurs coming up shortly, but first let's get the half-time classified, starting with
Premier League.
Arsenal 0, West Ham 1, Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1, Fulham 0, Crystal Palace 1, Ipswich 1, Tottenham 2, Southampton 0, Brighton 1.
Sky Bet Championship.
Coventry 2, Preston 0, Norwich 1, Stoke 1, Portsmouth 0, QPR 0, Swansea 2, Blackburn 0, West Brom 1, Oxford United 0.
Sky Bet League 1.
Blackpool 2, Crawley 1, Bolton 0, Leyton Orient 1, Cambridge United 2, Stockport 0, Charlton 1, Exeter 0, Huddersfield 0, Peterborough 1, Lincoln 0, Burton 0, Northampton 0, Bristol Rovers 0, Shrewsbury 0, Stevenage 1, Wickham 0, Wigan 0.
Sky Bet League 2.
Accrington 0, Doncaster 1, Bradford City 1, MK Dons 0, Bromley 2, Harrogate 0, Carlisle 0, Gillingham 0, Colchester 0, AFC Wimbledon 1, Grimsby 1, Fleetwood 0, Newport 0, Cheltenham 1, Notts County 0, Tranmere 0, Port Vale 1, Salford 0, Swindon 0, Chesterfield 0. So the Tottenham substitutes have been warming up here at Portman Road. Ipswich are back out, warming up before the second half. It looks like changes are imminent. We'll find out very shortly who is on. It was a cracking first 45 minutes on Talksport 2 here at Portman Road. 2 goals from Brennan Johnson, 2 assists from Son Heung-min, put Spurs in control. But Amari Hutchinson's cracker has put Ipswich back in it. I feel like there's more twists and turns in this one. Let's find out the changes with your commentary team of Courtney Sweetman-Kirk and Ian Danter.
Thanks, mate. Well, it's Luke Wolfenden who came on at half-time at Villa Park because of the red card to Axel Tuanzebe. He's coming on at half-time here, presumably because of the first half that Ben Godfrey had up against Son Heung-min. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk made mention of it a couple of times, and Faye and Courtney were talking about it there at the break. So that is the change that's been made at the start of the second half. Wolfenden for Godfrey. It's been the away days day so far, away teams day in the Premier League. Everybody on their travels in the top flight is in front at the break in the 3 o'clocks. And this blew my mind when I heard this stat. This is Spurs' first 3 o'clock Saturday away game in the Premier League since September 2023, when they went to Burnley and won 5-2. Faye's just giving me the 1,000-yard stare. It's true, I looked it up, I checked. It's nuts that it's been this long since Spurs have been away from home on a Saturday at 3 o'clock in the Premier League. So, Ipswich, having made that one half-time switch, will get us back underway here on Talksport 2. We're at the bottom of the top tier of the West Stand. Brilliant viewpoint with the Bobby Robson stand to our left that Ipswich will be attacking in the second half as they wear their regulation blue shirts and socks with white shorts. Spurs will be attacking the Sir Ralph Ramsey stand to our right in their first choice colours of the white with the darker blue. And I'll run you through the lineups in just a second as Archie Gray, back in the Spurs side today at centre half, works the ball back to his goalkeeper Guillermo Vicario. So with that change for Ipswich, we've just conceded a free kick. It's now Palmer in goal, Wolfenden, O'Shea, Greaves and Davis, Phillips and Kayusta, Philogene, Hutchinson, Clark and Delap. For Spurs, Vicario, then Spence, Danso, Gray and Udogi, Bergvall and Bentancur, Johnson, Kulusevski and Son in behind Tell. And Kevin Danso out on the left-hand side for Tottenham. It's worked up to Son Heung-min. He's got a different opponent to get past now in Luke Wolfenden. Dara O'Shea coming out to help as well on that far side. Wolfenden actually looks to be playing as the centre-half, and O'Shea's gone across the full-back, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, that's how they've started. I didn't initially know whether they even might have gone to a 3 actually, but I think that's just the way that they set up asymmetrically for the centre kick, just to try and get numbers up. But yeah, you're right, it's O'Shea out on that right-hand side now, so it'll be a different kettle of fish for Son to try and work out.
Goal early in the second half at Sixfields in League One. Northampton 0, Bristol Rovers 1. Two teams just above the drop zone. And Scott Sinclair, the old stager, has given Bristol Rovers the lead at Northampton. Here's Destiny Udogie, one of those Spurs players, back fit again. And for Ange Postecoglou's sake, you hope that everybody gets back and he can start making the sort of team selections he would like to make without just having to pick the best 11 players he's got available. Here is Archie Gray swinging the ball out to Brennan Johnson, who's been on a hat-trick since around about the half-hour mark here at Portman Road. Out to Destiny Udogie and back for Danso. Spurs just happy to keep possession in these early minutes of the second half and not allow Ipswich to come flying out the traps at them, which I'm sure is what Kieran McKenna would want them to do from the half-time whistle.
Yeah, and I think especially because the first 5 minutes in the first half were so frantic, I don't think that Ange Postecoglou wants a replication of that. So doing well, Spurs, in the early part of this second half to control the game.
Ross County 2, Dundee 1 in the Scottish Premiership this afternoon. I think Celtic lost earlier. They were 2-0 down in their game against Hibs at lunchtime. Meanwhile, Spurs are in possession with Archie Gray, swinging the ball out to Jed Spence on this near touchline, right in front of where Ange Postecoglou is stood. Hands in pockets in that grey three-quarter length coat of his. Kieran McKenna wearing more of a jacket, asking Jack Clark to get back goal side as Spence works his way into the Ipswich half of the field. Destiny Udogie out to Son, the captain. 2 assists to his name this afternoon. Tries to get Udogie in again on the underlap, but the ball was hit too firmly by the Spurs skipper, and it goes straight over the dead ball line, and Ipswich have themselves a goal kick away to our right. Ipswich 1, Tottenham 2 in the early stages of the second half on Talksport 2.
They deal with that really well as well, Ipswich, because Udogie continues to make that run, and there's a moment that Philogene leaves him between Dara O'Shea and Wolfenden. They all communicate really well.
It's now Ross County 3, Dundee 1. Noah Chilvers with a third for Ross County, and Portsmouth are 1-0 up against QPR in the Championship. Josh Murphy, who has been one of their best players all season. I saw him put an outstanding performance in a recent Portsmouth home game that they did lose, but Murphy was brilliant. Back-to-back wins as well for Pompey going into that one, and QPR have been no slouches, winning 2 of their last 3, so that's an important goal for Pompey down at Fratton Park. Dagenham and Redbridge 1, Oldham Athletic 1 in the National League. You're up to date on Talksport. Not missing any of the action here because I think Jens Kajust, who's just down holding his right knee, but he's going to be okay. Gets up right underneath the nose of Tim Robinson, the referee. Arsenal 0, West Ham United 1. Southampton 0, Brighton 1. And Fulham 0, Crystal Palace 1 in those 3 o'clock kickoffs. And Wolves 1-0 up against 10-man Bournemouth. That's particularly crucial to Ipswich fans listening to this commentary, because they want desperately not to lose any ground on Wolves. And Kajust is not going to be able to continue. He's already sat back down again. Must have jarred his knee, and he's going to have to come off, I think. Meantime, Spurs are coming forward. They've got a man advantage for a moment. Dejan Kulusevski to the right-hand corner of the box, feeds it into Spence. Spence pulls it back to the near post. Phillips and Davis between them get it half clear. It's going to drift out to the far side. Danso lets it drift out of play. That will allow for the change to be made. And Jack Taylor is already stripped and ready to come on for Ipswich Town, because the Swede Jens Kajust is just moving his right boot around with his right arm. I think he's got a problem with his knee movement there. Something's opened up there, Courtney Sweet.
Really unfortunate. It's actually Bentancur and Phillips that are competing for the ball. He gets involved and tries to block it rather, and you see it's Bentancur actually lands on him. He's almost gone down. You know, like keepers spread themselves. He's almost gone down like that. And then Bentancur has landed on, I say, his ankle, but he'll probably have twisted his knee within that as well. It's a really unfortunate one, because...
Well, you and I saw Romilly Critchlow land on Jay Stansfield on Tuesday night in an innocuous thing, and Stansfield was carried off for Birmingham City, but amazingly, he's not ruled out for the season from what we're told. And in fairness to Kajust, he's not being helped off the field. He's walking very slowly. I can't use the word gingerly when Perry Groves is around, but I can use it now.
Yeah, he certainly doesn't look the most comfortable, does he? And as I say, when it's an innocuous one like that, it's really unfortunate, and it's been a real bright spark in that midfield as well, so they won't want to lose him for a period of time, Ipswich.
So Jack Taylor into his second year at Ipswich after his move from Peterborough. Only scored once this season against Bristol Rovers in the FA Cup. He's on as a straight swap for Kayust. Norwich City have retaken the lead against Stoke, and Josh Sargent has made it Norwich 2, Stoke 1. Of course, got the winner against Wolves in that dramatic last few minutes at Molineux, did Jack Taylor. Jack Clark's already out there. Too many Jacks. Newport 0, Cheltenham 2. Ethan Williams puts Cheltenham further clear at Rodney Parade, and Portsmouth have got a second at home to QPR, and it's Matt Ritchie, occasional Talksport pundit, who's got the second goal. All right, he's done it once, but he's put Portsmouth 2-0 up anyway. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, a regular Talksport 2 pundit, and she's manacled together with me tomorrow over in the East Midlands for Mansfield Town against Wrexham. That's part of a double bill of EFL action that we're bringing you. From 11:45, Luton against Watford, and then Mansfield against Wrexham from 2:45. That's a 3 o'clock kickoff. Sutton United 1, Braintree Town 0 in the National League. Josh Coley for the Surrey club. You're listening to Ipswich 1, Tottenham 2 on Talksport 2 with Sky Sports. Don't forget you can stream the biggest Premier League games available with no contract on Now, like Aston Villa versus Chelsea, live later today. Just search Now Sports. Play back underway. Spurs take a free kick, and Jed Spence drifts down the right-hand side. Then he's held up by Leif Davis. Elects to go back into his own half for Archie Gray. Danso being faced up by Amari Hutchinson, fires it into the feet of Spence, who controlled it well. Gray, lovely ball slid down the inside right channel for Kulusevski, and now Tell making a willing run down the right hand channel for Tottenham Hotspur, but he's being watched all the way by Wolfenden. So Tell now comes infield to the centre of the half, finds Danso, steps into space, thought about going for goal for a minute then, Danso, and then tried to slip it through to the invisible man running down the right wing. I think he was expecting Spence to make a run that he didn't make, and it's an Ipswich goal kick as Crystal Palace go 2-0 up at Fulham. Jean-Philippe Mateta with another goal. What a season he's having for Crystal Palace. Didn't see that result coming necessarily this afternoon. Fulham have had such a terrific season, but Glasnow's Palace improving, and they are reinforcing this thing this afternoon that the away sides in the Premier League are doing rather well, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, they're good away from home, aren't they, as well, Palace, so sort of keeps on with that trend. But you're right, Mateta, watched Palace quite a few times this season, and what a specimen he is. He's a wonderful footballer, scored some great goals this season.
When I first saw him, look raw as anything, but that rawness is being gradually cancelled out by good coaching, and he's training on well, it seems to me. So West Ham in front at Arsenal, Wolves in front at Bournemouth, Palace in front at Fulham, and Brighton have just gone 2-0 up at Southampton to Jorginho Ruta. So the bottom club are having another rotten day at St Mary's, and Brighton just picking up a little bit of form. But here at Portman Road, we played 10 minutes of the second half. Ipswich 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2. Hutchinson is barged off the ball by Bergvall, but cleanly, says referee Tim Robinson. And now Vicario thinks about clearing long downfield, but instead gives it short to Spence. But Spence is dispossessed by Clark, getting into the area left-hand side, tries to poke it back for Jack Clark at the edge of the area. And then Jack Taylor. Clark's got it again. Tries to get the cross in, has to slide it back for Leif Davis. Back it goes to Wolfenden in the centre circle. And just Jed Spence there being put into trouble by his own goalkeeper there, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk.
Yeah, he was, but you know why? Liam Delap runs the width of the pitch like a train, head down, arms pumping to try and put some sort of pressure on the goalkeeper. He had no right to get anywhere near that ball. It was brilliant from him. Great work rate.
Now Taylor looking to release Leif Davis. He's trying to get in behind Archie Gray. Can he keep it in play down by the corner flag? On this near side he can, and then he's barged over by Gray. Free kick given by Tim Robinson Tottenham Hotspur 2-1 up, 11 gone in the second half. Accrington Stanley equalise against Doncaster in League 2. Seamus Keneally making it 1-1 at the Wham Stadium, and this is pretty much a corner kick for Lee Davis down the left-hand side. It is actually, the way he's placed it, it's almost like the way players place the ball when it is a corner. It's nowhere near the quadrant. You footballers always trying to steal that extra half a yard.
They need to make the quadrant bigger.
So, down the left-hand side of the Bobby Robson stand end, Davis with this free kick. Ipswich have got everybody at the far post, nobody making a run to the near post yet. Clark and Philogene standing at the edge of the area, and Hutchinson waiting for any bits and pieces that might come. But before this free kick is struck, the referee wants a word with Delap and Kulusevski, who are pushing and shoving about 8 yards from goal. Delap just drifts away to the far post now. Referee still having a word with it, and with Jacob Greaves and Destiny Udogie, who are still pushing and shoving, even though the referee's told them not to. Here's Davis with the free kick deep to the far post, headed clear well by Danso. Comes out to the centre of the Tottenham half, and it's kept in play by Calvin Phillips, but he slipped, and Spurs are on a counter-attack, but then Johnson can't get the better of Jack Clark, and Ipswich got lucky there.
They did. Fortunate that they could recover themselves. Fortunate in that moment as well on the counter-attack that Brennan Johnson slips and loses his foot into.
Philogene, right-hand side for Ipswich, comes in field to about 30 yards from goal, goes down, free kick again. The doggy, the player that brought him down this time. This is within striking distance for somebody in a blue Ipswich shirt. We played 58 minutes on Talksport 2, Ipswich 1, Tottenham Hotspur 2.
Yeah, well, I would imagine this is for Amari Hutchinson. Right side of the box, still fairly central, but would suit that left footer in my opinion. But Calvin Phillips as well, he's over the ball.
Yeah, but it does, I mean, Amari Hutchinson's already shown in this game what he can do with his left foot from around the edge of the area with the beautiful goal he smacked home to get Ipswich back into this game. Rangers 0, St Mirren 1. So Celtic lose, and Rangers at the moment not taking advantage. Mikel Mandron has put the Buddies ahead at Ibrox. So a free kick to Ipswich Town. Amari Hutchinson, favourite to hit it. It's 25 yards from goal. To the right of centre, there's a 4-man Spurs wall, about level with the penalty spot. And Kulusevski standing behind that wall. He's not doing the draft excluder thing, at least not at the moment. Or is he joining that wall to be a fifth participant? Meanwhile, both Calvin Phillips and Amari Hutchinson deliberately pacing 2 or 3 steps back from the ball. One of them's going to strike it goalwards. Vicario waits on his goal line. Referee blows his whistle. It's Hutchinson into the wall, comes out to Phillips, who tries to drive it goals, blocked by the wall again. Hutchinson lifts it into the area. Wolfenden heads it home for 2-2. But the flag's gone up. It won't count. Luke Wolfenden thought he'd equalised for Ipswich Town, but the flag has gone up on the far side. Spurs hadn't cleared their lines. VAR will take a look, I'm sure. But as it stands, it's going to be ruled out, and Tottenham are going to keep their lead.
Miles off dance. 3 of them as well. And it's such a shame because it's a good ball, and I think if they'd have come back into the line of play, they'd have still have had that opportunity, Ipswich, whether it be Wolfenden or his 2 teammates around him, and that's just being switched on. He's looking across the line as well. And that's one of those cardinal sins. When you're looking across the line, you can see it, you've got to bring yourself back on.
There's a very short moment of euphoria for the Ipswich fans, particularly those at the Bobby Robson stand where the goal went in, but VAR has ruled it out. And VAR's overturned that second Palace goal, so it's still just 1-0 to Palace at Fulham. You're listening to Talksport 2, game day exclusive, Saturday afternoon. Ian Dancer and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk with you. Faker Ruthers is here as well at Portman Road. And we're off to Riyadh from 5 o'clock this afternoon for the undercard on this extraordinary boxing bill in Saudi Arabia, climaxing later on tonight with Bebetiev against Bivol 2. And coverage will switch from Talksport 2 to Talksport with the boxing at 8 p.m, and that will allow us here on Talksport 2 to then bring you live Super League, Castleford against St Helens at 8 p.m. from the jungle. Grimsby 1, Fleetwood 1 in League 2. Ryan Graydon equalises for Fleetwood. Bergvall for Tottenham Hotspur finds Kulusevski, edge of the area, slides in. Johnson on the hat-trick, blocked behind by Davis for a corner kick. Big interception. Brennan Johnson thought the goal was at his mercy, but Lee Davis had other ideas. But it is a corner kick to Tottenham at the Sir Arthur Ramsey end. They lead 2-1.
This is excellent defending. He reads the play and always looking over his shoulder, Leif Davis, always aware where Brennan Johnson is, and when he knows the moments there, drives across, but looked on target. To me, could have been the hat-trick if not for Davis.
So Son will have the corner where the Arthur Ramsey stand meets the West stand in which we are sat, down to our right hand side, an outswinger with the right boot of the South Korean. Not many Spurs players in the 6-yard box, and well, Bergvall was getting onto the volley, but the referee just blew his whistle as Son was about to strike it, looking at pushing and shoving. So I can give you some scores elsewhere. Northampton equalised against Bristol Rovers, that's 1-1. Doncaster back in front at Accrington through an own goal, 2-1 they lead. Bradford 2-0 up on MK Dons. Anthony Sarcevic with his and the Bantam second. Bolton equalised home to Leyton Orient, John McAtee. And Swansea 3-0 up on Blackburn now, Liam Cullen with the third. Son with this retaken corner for Tottenham from the right hand side into the near post. It lands on the 6-yard line. Bergvall with his back to goal, turns, wants to shoot, tries to make an angle, tries to feed it into the path of Danso, and Danso couldn't get anywhere near it. He was just shoulder barged out of the way by Dara O'Shea, the Ipswich captain, and Danso felt that was a foul, and that was overdone by Dara O'Shea, but the referee says no. I don't know whether VAR will take a look at that.
I think he's got a point, to be honest. I mean, he does well to come across O'Shea and is protecting the ball, but I think he's overzealous, in my opinion. If the referee does look at that and gives a penalty, I don't think you could disagree, because he's got no attempt to play the ball.
No. I mean, shoulder charging is legitimate, but as Courtney Switmakirk rightly says, did he have eyes for the ball? Meantime, Spurs are making a double change here. Udogie and Johnson are coming off, so no hat-trick today for Brennan Johnson. Udogie also making way as Pedro Porro and James Maddison are introduced by Ange Postecoglou with just over 25 minutes to go here. Spurs are 2-1 up and Ipswich have a goal kick. Aldershot 1, Hartlepool 1. David Ferguson equalises for the Shots. Looks like it's 2-0 for sure now for Crystal Palace at Fulham. Daniel Munoz making it 2-0 to the Eagles in the London derby. Grimsby 2, Fleetwood 1. Danny Rose puts Grimsby back in front. Let's bring you team news from the 5:30 kickoff from Villa Park. Aston Villa against Chelsea. What are the lineups? Adam Bridge.
Yeah, big news for Villa here. Marcus Rashford only amongst the substitutes today. He's replaced by Jacob Ramsey as one of 4 changes from the side which drew 2-2 with Liverpool. Dina Garcia and Dasasi, who can't play against Chelsea, of course, are also out. Cash, Martson and Ramsey come in, and Konsa as well, who's back for the first time since February the 9th. 1 change for Chelsea. Madueke out injured, of course, replaced by Reece James, who captains the side, and it looks like a 3 at the back for Chelsea. We're underway at 5:30 at Villa Park for Aston Villa against Chelsea.
Thanks, Adam. He will keep you updated regularly throughout the course of the game day phone-in over on Talksport with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy from 5:30 onwards. 03717 22 33 44. That's always the number that gets you through to Talksport to speak to Jamie and Jason of a Saturday tea time. And in midweek next week, loads of games. All 10 midweek Premier League games are live and exclusive across the Talksport network, whether that be Talksport, Talksport 2, the app, or Talk Radio, that's picking up a couple of games for us on Wednesday night to allow us to bring you the very, very best coverage. I'll be at Wolves Fulham on Tuesday night. That will be on Talk as an exclusive, and I'll be at Anfield on Wednesday night for Liverpool Newcastle. Another Talk Radio exclusive. That's an 8:15 kickoff. Manchester United will be Ipswich's next opponents. That's Wednesday night as well. And Arsenal and Tottenham also in action at Forest and home to Manchester City respectively. So all 10 games, including the standalone one on Thursday, which is West Ham Leicester, all live across our network. And then we've got the FA Cup 5th round next Saturday as well, with the likes of Villa, Cardiff, Bournemouth, Wolves, Manchester City, Plymouth, and so on and so forth. Just so much football, over 450 live games. Free kick to Tottenham Hotspur as we approach the midway point of the second half. Maddison just on as a sub, swings it in. Good catch from Alex Palmer. Not really under any pressure, but had to catch it all the same and looked very comfortable doing so.
It was only Kulusevski, wasn't it, at that sort of far post area where the ball was aiming for, but as you say, he comes in confidently, collects it, Palmer.
Now long ball downfield looking for Liam Delap, but tried to get him behind Archie Gray, but he fouled him, says Tim Robinson. Much to the dismay of the locals. Ipswich are about to make a change here. Jack Clark is coming off and Nathan Broadhead is coming on to replace him. So Nathan Broadhead, Everton youth, joined a couple of years ago now. Hasn't scored this season, scored 13 goals in the promotion campaign last year, Nathan Broadhead, and it's a like-for-like switch. He's going out on that left-hand side of the attacking three behind Delap. 2-1 to Tottenham Hotspur.
Interesting one, that dance, in terms of Delap up against Archie Gray there. For me, that is no more of a foul than what we saw with Wolfenden and Danto in the box, and that's where I think players get frustrated and defenders tend to get the benefit of the doubt, and that's not a former striker speaking.
Now Spurs trying to win a corner and have done. Son just almost teasing Wolfenden into turning the ball over the dead ball line for a corner kick where the Cobbold stand meets the Alf Ramsey. They've taken it quickly. Son into the area, left-hand corner, tries to turn away from Phillips. He's got support from Maddison out there. Maddison twists and turns to try and get away from Jayden Philogene, who's blocking his route back into the penalty area. Spence now down the left-hand side, the far side for Spurs in front of the away support. Happy enough with what they're seeing. Spurs just 20 minutes or so away from 3 successive Premier League wins. It's been a while since they've done that. The Ipswich fans booing every completed pass that you can hear from Spurs. Maddison looking to play the ball with the outside of his boot. One back by Ipswich now. Amari Hutchinson scurrying towards the halfway line. Has to check his run for a moment under pressure from Spence, but it's sent out to this near side for Leif Davis. Now Broadhead getting involved for the first time this afternoon. Works it back to the halfway line. Receives it again just inside the Tottenham Hotspur half. And now O'Shea out to Philogene, right hand side, trying to isolate Jed Spence here. Thinks about a cross from deep. Will send a ball into the area, headed up and out by Danso. Drops on the chest of Jack Taylor, and he lobs it back to Phillips, who in turn sends it back to Wolfenden at the edge of the centre circle. Only one goal in it here. Spurs 2-1 up, and then Wolfenden overhits a diagonal pass intended for Philogene on the right hand side, and it is a Tottenham Hotspur throw. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk's here this afternoon. Just over 20 to go, Courtney.
Yeah, and I think Ipswich are still in this game, there's no doubt about that. It's the tempo of the game has certainly changed compared to the first half. It was so frantic, and that's also down to Spurs trying to just take this thing out of the game and control it, but I still think there's another goal in it.
And here come Ipswich. Just got away from Nathan Broadhead as Philogene tried to toe end it through to him. Good foot in from Leif Davis to stop Kulusevski getting away. And it's shoveled back out to Hutchinson, inside right channel, attacking the area, slips it down the right hand side to the byline for Philogene's cross, chested down by Broadhead, tried to get the volley away. He was slipping as he hit it and couldn't get the purchase on the shot, but once again it was Tell trying to bring the ball away, and Ipswich players marauded around him to get the ball back. That was the roar you heard from the Ipswich faithful around us.
It's Kelvin Phillips, wasn't it? And I think he's been really good today, both in and out of possession, showing his quality, and the way he's playing balls around the corner and one touch and trying to start the attack early. I've been really impressed with.
Hutchinson, far right hand side, suddenly goes through the gears to try and get away from Spence, driving for the byline, goes into the box, across comes Bentancur, turns it behind, corner kick at the Bobby Robson stand end for Ipswich Town, who trail by 2-1.
You can feel it's with them, the momentum at the moment. Ipswich feel like they need to score sooner rather than later.
Davis is going to go across to take it, so it'll be a left-footed in-swinger from where the Bobby Robson meets the Cobbold stand. Just have Jayden Philogene just showing up the touchline if he wants a short corner option. Kulusevski keeping his eye on that, and it has gone short to Philogene, and further back to Hutchinson, who tries to lift the ball into the area, blocked by Kulusevski, and now there's a 2-on-2 break for Tottenham Hotspur, and it's Tell sending it out left for Kulusevski, but he can't keep it in play. The pass was overhit. And a throw into Ipswich. And again, the urgency is being stressed by the home support that Ipswich get the ball back into the Tottenham half and continue that pressure, but it's back with their goalkeeper, Palmer.
Yeah, look, this is going to happen. When Ipswich are getting bodies forward and wanting to find the equaliser, you're always going to leave yourself gaps, and that's the risk and reward. But the way that they're trying to recover and the energy that they're using and the willingness to get back to defend has been excellent.
Hutchinson, rise the challenge of Bentancur, inside right position. Philogene on the right wing, into the area. Couple of step overs. Can he find a teammate? Oh, he's rolled it straight back to Son, giving it straight back to Tottenham Hotspur at the edge of their own penalty area, and the visitors can clear their lines. Ball goes out of play as Greaves and Kulusevski collide. Actually stayed in play. Brighton 3-0 up at Southampton. Kaoru Mitoma with the third for the Seagulls. Davis for Ipswich. And Arsenal down to 10 at the Emirates. Another red card for Mikel Arteta's men this season. Miles Lewis-Skelly given his marching orders. They're still losing 1-0 to West Ham. Meanwhile, it's currently Ipswich 1, Spurs 2. For the latest odds, head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now, with 18 minutes to go, you can get Ipswich to win this at 12 to 1, Spurs to win at 100 to 30 on, and the draw priced at 17 to 5. That's all thanks to William Hill. 18 plus, begambleaware.org. Oh, gambleaware.org. I do beg your pardon. Dane Scarlett is coming on for Mattis Tell. And also coming on for Son Heung-min is Wilson Odobert, who's had such a dreadful run of luck with injury. Wilson Odobert, so it's good to see him back wearing a Tottenham shirt. Meanwhile, Rangers have gone 2-0 down at home to St Mirren in the Scottish Premiership. Forest Green were behind just a few minutes ago to Woking, but it's now 1-1 at the New Lawn. Jordan Garrick equalising. Norwich 3, Stoke 1 now in the Championship. Josh Sargent gets his second of the afternoon. And Ipswich have a free kick that Leif Davis drives to the right-hand corner of the Tottenham Hotspur area. Up go the heads. It was Dara O'Shea that tried to win it, and he collided with Danso, who's down holding his face and wanting treatment. Ball's gone out of play, so the physios can come on and treat him, and Ange Postecoglou raises his arms above his head to the referee saying, "Why aren't you protecting my players?" That's what he seems to be saying, Courtney Sweetman, Kirk.
Yeah, and the thing is, as soon as it's a head injury, I think the referee is at liberty to stop it, and it's a collision with the head, so it's one of those, I don't know why players, managers alike start arguing over it. It's just, that is the laws of the game, we know that, so just get on with it.
It's going to be a drop ball that Tim Robinson is going to give to Spurs so they can just whack it downfield, and then it will be given back to Ipswich Town. Portsmouth 2, QPR 1. Jimmy Dunn gets a goal back up from the back for QPR at Fratton Park. And so we're back underway, and Ipswich win the ball back, and Phillips gets dispossessed as in stepped Odobert. Only just on to the field, got to 3 minutes. Wilson Odobert against Manchester United last weekend. He's going to get at least a quarter of an hour here. And he's had no luck. He's been out since October, since Burial against RZ. Free kick to Tottenham sent down the left-hand side, but it's one back for Ipswich Town. Hutchinson tries to flick it infield, but Danso steps in front of Delap. Out it goes to Odobert, left-hand side for the visitors. Thinks about a cross, but he's being watched by Jaden Philogene. So Maddison has it now. Odobert. Not much space to work in. Help from Udogie on that far left-hand side of the field. Bentancur rolls it back into the centre circle for Archie Gray. You're listening to Ipswich 1, Tottenham 2 on Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away. Excuse me. Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day. Here is James Maddison, twisting and turning and weaving his way into the area, setting up Spence! That may well be be that. And he may well be 3 successive Premier League victories as Jed Spence fires Tottenham Hotspur 3-1 in front just inside the last quarter of an hour. Lovely footwork from James Maddison inside the area, teeing up Spence from about 15 yards out, and Palmer couldn't get near it. Ipswich are going to stay in the bottom 3. Ipswich Town 1, a resurgent Tottenham Hotspur 3.
I think this takes a massive deflection dance, and it's so unfortunate because Ipswich are the ones that look like they were really pressing to get that goal. But as I always say and mentioned it earlier, leave yourself open and go on the attack, Tottenham. James Maddison does ever so well. He commits O'Shea Phillips and then just passes it off to Jed Spence, who strikes it well enough. And that's why I always say you've got to take the shot on. Doesn't matter if it takes a deflection, which it does off the back of Wolfenden, as long as it goes in the back of the net. And he's done just that. And I think you're right, Dan. I think that's game over now.
Calvin Phillips just getting some treatment before Ipswich restart the match. Owen Price now wants double top with his first match start to take week 3 in Dublin, and there it is. He only needed the 1 match start. And Garwin Price, who'd already seen off the 2 previous weekly winners tonight in Luke Littler and Luke Humphreys.
Massive news here. Daniel Dubois is out.
Has Big Baby bouncing off the ropes, and he's done it! Martin McCauley with an epic performance in Los Angeles!
How can His Excellency pull that rabbit out the hat?
Parker, who set up going for the knockout, is certainly doing so here in the 8th round. Uppercut to Joseph Parker. Caught him again.
Artur Beterbiev, as he comes out and this fight is over, Beterbiev retains his title.
Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Bivol, the undisputed light heavyweight title fight for Beterbiev's WBA, WBC, IBF, WBO and Ring Magazine belts.
Only one radio heavyweight brings you unbeatable, canvas-thumping coverage of the biggest bouts in world boxing. Talksport. Go the distance with unparalleled ringside commentary of the biggest boxing showdowns.
Unbelievable stuff at the Manchester Arena!
With 2 tough-talking boxing shows, Fight Night and Fight Night Extra.
The fight starts now!
Plus, get total knockout content on our world-class boxing podcasts and dedicated YouTube channel.
Swaggering, full of confidence.
Available now, and it's all for free. Talksport and Talksport 2, your home of boxing.
We're having technical issues at Portman Road at the moment. We're going to be back with you as soon as we possibly can.
Fight Night Extra on Talksport 2, Tuesday evening from 5. Get weighed in for a massive night of big boxing drama.
I'm just ready to go to war.
Explosive insight and heavyweight boxing banter.
I'm the generation fighter. I actually feel sorry for all these guys who's had to fight me.
Hard-hitting boxing discussion.
It is Ipswich 1, Tottenham 3. Apologies for the delay. We had a power cut here at Portman Road. We're back underway. Ipswich have made a couple of changes. Morsey and Hurst have been brought on by Kieran McKenna. With 10 minutes to go at Portman Road. Norwich 4, Stoke 1. Junior Shamadeo with an own goal. Brighton 4-0 up at Southampton. Salford have got a goal back at Port Vale. That's 2-1 in League 2. Aldershot 2, Hartlepool 2. Coventry City 2, Preston 1. Will Keane has got a goal back for Preston. But here at Portman Road, on game day exclusive, Tottenham Hotspur are heading for 3 Premier League wins in a row after seeing off Brentford and Manchester United. Ipswich trying to send the ball through the middle for Hutchinson, but Vicario came charging out of his goal to clear his lines. Out to the left-hand side it goes and Wilson Odobert, who's not long come on for a taste of the action late on here in Suffolk. Porro, another second half substitute, hits an aimless diagonal ball downfield, bounces over Dane Scarlett's head. I think it may well be Courtney Sweetman. I mean, they've not quite gone to 3 at the back, Ipswich, but I mean, they've got to start gambling a little bit more at this point.
Yeah, I think sort of out of possession it will certainly be a 4, but you can see when they're in possession it's a little bit asymmetric. They're trying to really push Leif Davis on, especially because we talked about his attacking threat.
Now Jack Taylor trying to release George Hurst, but he shoves Kevin Danso to the ground, who was running back towards the edge of his own penalty area. Free kick given. You might just have been able to detect, despite the scoreline, a few "we want Levy out" chants from the Tottenham fans directly opposite us, so on the far side of the field. Our producer could hear them, so the scoreline means nothing in terms of their opinion of how things are being run at Tottenham Hotspur. Notts County 2, Tranmere 0. Alassane Yatta for Notts, who are 1 point off automatic promotion at the start of the day. Tranmere are in a dreadful run of form, just 2 points clear of the bottom 2. Cheltenham 3-0 up at Newport. Ethan Archer in League 2 as well. 3-1 with 7 minutes of normal time to go. Then we're off to Riyadh for the boxing. Bevetiev against Bivol 2, the highlight of our card. Coverage will switch to Talksport from 8 p.m, but we'll start with a whole load of brilliant fights from 5 p.m. This one's almost over as a contest. Tottenham coming forward again with Dejan Kulusevski into the area right hand side. Curls it goalwards. Brilliant fourth. Dejan Kulusevski sets the seal on 3 straight Premier League wins for Tottenham Hotspur, and Ipswich Town getting that sinking feeling. They conceded 4 here to Newcastle. They conceded 4 here today, and it's all going horribly wrong for Kieran McKenna and Ipswich Town after what was a great start to the game where they could have led. They're now 4-1 down to Spurs.
Well, there's an issue with this, Dance, because right in front of us, Jacob Greaves went down with a head injury. Now, over the other side of the pitch, and I can see exactly what the Ipswich staff are saying to the 4th official over the other side of the pitch when it was a head injury. Straight away the referee blows, and rightly so. Now let's not take away from the goal from Kulusevski, by the way, because it was wonderful. He stands Wolfenden up, comes in on his left hand side, arrows it right across the goal, comes off the post, almost back across the line and in. So I can't take anything away from the goal, but again, that lack of consistency with the officiating, I can see why Ipswich are so upset with that.
That's his 10th goal of the season, Dejan Kulusevski, to match his number of assists. And it is 4-1 to Tottenham Hotspur.
And what I will say, Dance, there's a lot to go. It's almost on the halfway line. Kulusevski picks this ball up, he keeps driving. He's not engaged well enough, he's not defended well enough. But just watching the replay back now with the
Scarlett
the
and
collision,
Greaves going for it.
And it's head to head. So he's not putting it on Jacob Greaves. Straight away he goes down holding his head. Right in front of the 4th official as well, by the way. And it's not great from an officiating standpoint, but let's talk about that goal and how well Kulusevski does, driving down the right hand side, cutting in on his left foot. It's a wonderful goal, but yeah, I don't think personally that should have stood. They should have stopped the game with the head injury.
Ipswich Town 1, Tottenham Hotspur 4. Less than 5 minutes of normal time to play at Portman Road. 1 or 2 making their way to the exits, but there's not the sort of mass exodus you sometimes get when a team has fallen that far behind and there's not long to go.
Not the mass exodus we got after about half an hour at the King Power yesterday.
Oh boy. Here's Jaden Philogene, right hand side for Ipswich Town, twisting and turning to try and keep away from challenges. Charlton go 3-0 up against Exeter. Miles Leeburn with the 3rd for the Addicts as Ipswich win a corner at the Bobby Robson end. Notts County 2, Tranmere 1. Christian Dennis gets one back for Tranmere. Barnet 4-0 up at Rochdale in the National League. Yeovil 2-0 up at Maidenhead in the 5th tier as well. But here at Portman Road, Spurs 4-1 up, but they've got a corner to defend here. Leif Davis to strike it from where the Bobby Robson stand meets the Cobbold stand. Left-footed in swinger. In it comes, very, very deep to the far post. It's Dara O'Shea who heads it into the side netting from a very tight angle. And Spurs end up having a goal kick. 4-1 they lead.
And it's a decent effort. You see, it's something that's probably been worked on, the way that O'Shea peels around the back post area, but he just gets it wrong. He should be heading it back across into bodies, but straight into the side netting.
Bentancur chips the ball out to Archie Gray in the right back position, who just hoofs it downfield. Late equaliser for Colchester at home to AFC Wimbledon in League 2, just down the road from here. Samson Tavida makes it Colchester 1, AFC Wimbledon 1. Here is Nathan Broadhead, can't get through Bentancur. Kulusevski through the legs of Broadhead, but Broadhead wins it back. Kulusevski and Bentancur between them managed to wrestle back possession. Less than 3 minutes to play. Spurs fans in full voice, much more positive voice on that far side of the field as they edge towards another 3 points to get them clear of any lingering thoughts of trouble at the wrong end of the Premier League table.
And just thinking about the results that are currently going on as well, it's turning out to be a very good weekend for Wolves at the moment, isn't it?
Still 1-0 up at 10-man Bournemouth. Still 1-0 to West Ham at 10 against 10-men Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. Brighton 4-0 up at Southampton. West Ham 1-0 up at Arsenal. Palace 2-0 up at Fulham. It was Jared Bowen that got that goal. Miles Lewis-Skelly got the red card for the Gunners. But Spurs fans, normally you phone and moan when you get in touch with Jamie O'Hara. Maybe you'll be ringing and singing. Getting in touch with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy on the game day phone-in tonight from 5:30. Any money, you get a Spurs are back at some point from Jamie. Jason will try and goad him into it. Here's Jayden Philogene down the right-hand side of the box for Ipswich. Again, he's got Spence watching his every move. Does drive the ball along the 6-yard line. It evaded Danso, but Gray intercepted, got it up to Scarlett, who's being pushed by Wolfenden. Free kick to Tottenham Hotspur just shy of the halfway line. Loads of FA Cup action next weekend. Starting Friday night, you've got Villa Cardiff. Then on Saturday, Palace Millwall, Bournemouth Wolves and Man City Plymouth. On the Sunday, Newcastle Brighton and Manchester United against Fulham. And then Monday, we'll round things off with Nottingham Forest against Ipswich in the 5th round. So Ipswich will have to lick their wounds, and they'll get a week off to contemplate what's happened here today before they travel to the City ground. Now Maddison down the left-hand side of the box for Tottenham, looking for a fifth. Rolls it back. Oh, heavy touch from Audebert. Just inside the area, couldn't get the shot away. And Philogene just puts his boot through it. Ipswich do have a game against Manchester United in midweek as well in the Premier League. So Kieran McKellar doesn't have long to assess what's gone on here today. Got to get them prepared for a trip back to his old stomping ground, Courtney, as we move into 8 minutes of added time here.
Yeah, and obviously that's not the game, is it? That, you know, in terms of Manchester United, it's not the big threat, I suppose, that it used to be, let's be totally honest. So they'll be looking at that Ipswich thinking, you know, we can get something. They're in a real bad place, and I know they sparked somewhat of a comeback today, Manchester United, but it's less than convincing.
Bissouma can't get past Davis. Ball's out of play for an Ipswich throw, bang on the halfway line, just down beneath our commentary position. So don't forget, live boxing coming here at 5, which then switches to Talksport at 8, and then at Talksport 2 at 8 o'clock, live Super League from the jungle. Castleford against St Helens on week 2 of the Super League. We'll bring you commentaries every weekend right the way through to the grand final at Old Trafford in October from Super League 2025. So a minute of the minimum 8 have elapsed. Spurs still 4-1 up, and Davis runs into Porro down this near touchline. It is an Ipswich throw. Sent back straight to Jacob Greaves, who was aggrieved by the way that fourth goal came about with the head injury that wasn't picked up by the officials, and the game has not stopped. Burton have taken a late lead at Lincoln in League One. That's a big goal for Burton Albion. at the LNER. 2 points behind Peterborough at the start of the day, trying to get out of trouble. And Charlie Webster may well have won it for the Brewers up in Lincolnshire. Leif Davis, meantime, for Ipswich Town, trying to get away from Dejan Kulusevski down this left-hand side. Kulusevski just toe ends it toward the halfway line. Kept in play by Greaves, and then Taylor knocks it back for Wolfenden, who runs beyond Scarlett and plays it out to the Ipswich right-hand side, and Philogene. Hutchinson making an underlapping run. Crosses blocked behind by Danso for a corner kick. Well, it's another game where they've not kept a clean sheet, Spurs, but they want to keep it at 4-1 here.
Yeah, of course they do. It's about that confidence, isn't it, and getting the best result possible for them.
So Hutchinson will have the corner kick, whether Bobby Robson meets the Cobbold stand. Against very deep to the far post. O'Shea heads it across the 6-yard line. Spence gets it half clear. Broadhead tries to twist and turn at the edge of the area, but runs into Odebear. And now a chance for Tottenham Hotspur to break. And it's with Pedro Porro, who's down the left-hand side, but runs into Philogene, who's won it back for Ipswich Town. Hutchinson again on the far right-hand side. Spence watching him. Plays an early ball into the box. Broadhead at the far post. Brings it down on his left. Tries to guide it onto his right. But Kulusevski got a foot in. Got it half clear. But Ipswich have it back with Taylor. Morsey now. Spools it out to Hutchinson. Right-hand corner of the penalty area. Spence facing him up. Hutchinson comes in field but can't get the shot away. Blocked. And Scarlett can bring the ball away for Tottenham Hotspur. Looking for the run of Bentancur, but it's overhit, and O'Shea can let that trickle out of play on the far side for a throw-in. 93.5 minutes played. There were 8 minutes of minimum added time indicated by the officials. It's 4-1 to Tottenham Hotspur.
I've got to say, Dance, I'm really surprised. I know a few Ipswich fans have come home, but gone home rather, but looking in the stand around us, there's still so many here, and fair credit for them to stay in the distance, because the latter stages of this, it hasn't been the easiest watch for the home fans.
VAR is checking for a possible penalty inside the Tottenham penalty box, but it's been decided no penalty, no foul by Dejan Kulusevski as he won the ball back inside his own penalty area. So we play on at 4-1 to Spurs. Porro penalised for a foul on Davis. Aberdeen look to have won it late on in the Scottish Premiership. Ode Dabag makes it Aberdeen 1, Kilmarnock 0 at Pittodrie. Sam Morsey, the Egyptian for Ipswich Town, sends it out to Philogene. Now Hurst is making a run down the right-hand side of the area. Gray trying to jockey and plays it across the face of goal. It almost made its way through to Broadhead, but it was Porro with an important touch. And now Dane Scarlett trying to get away on halfway. He's got 4 Ipswich players round him. Can he feed it infield for Odebear? He can't. Ipswich did enough to take the ball off his toe. Playing out time here at Portman Road. Ipswich Town 1, Tottenham Hotspur 4. And the ball's played in field to Jack Taylor, who will hit a lovely diagonal ball into that left to right but it just skips off the turf and gets away from Jaden Philogene. How's you look? Out it goes for a throw to Tottenham, who are cruising to victory here.
Got this much added time, and the scoreline is how it is. I think most of the players in the stadium now just want that whistle to blow, be over and done with, and especially when you've got a big the midweek fixtures, want to get home, rest and recover as quickly as possible.
It was 1 win in 11 for Tottenham before they got their 2 Premier League wins in succession against Brentford and Manchester United before today. Brighton have beaten Southampton by 4-0. That's a full-time score at St Mary's. Southampton stay on 9 points. Wolves still 1-0 up at Bournemouth. Palace still 2-0 up at Fulham. West Ham still 1-0 up at Arsenal. In fact, that Bournemouth-Wolves scoreline is a full-time result. Brilliant result for Wolves against 10-man Bournemouth, and that will pull them clear of Ipswich and Leicester by just a slightly larger margin. It's not a good afternoon to be an Ipswich Town fan, seeing that gap just increased. Leicester lost heavily last night to Brentford. You heard it live on Talksport. Ipswich also have conceded 4 against a resurgent Tottenham Hotspur. 90 seconds to play. Philogene with the cross, comfortably claimed under his crossbar by Vicario. And so Spurs have got Manchester City next in the FA Cup, then Bournemouth at home, Fulham away, Chelsea away, then Southampton and Wolves. And of course they'll have their Europa League round of 16 tie. But the crucial thing is there will be a few spare weeks coming up. Well, they're making the most of the spare weeks they've had just lately, in actual fact, Spurs, haven't they, Courtney?
They haven't, like you say, getting players back, it's imperative, and they certainly look like a different side, there's no doubt about that. But once you get them back, it's about keeping them fit. That's the next step, isn't it, for Ange Postecoglou in the medical team.
Here is Pedro Porro, inside right channel for Tottenham, finds Kulusevski, who scored their 4. We're in the last minute of minimum added time. Archie Gray will play it across to Porro, just inside the Ipswich half of the field. Ipswich got everybody back behind the ball. And back it goes to Gray, and then Bentancur on half-time. West Ham have beaten Arsenal. Wow, what a result of the London derby. Arsenal, Miles Lewis-Skelly sent off, another red card. Discipline again an issue for Mikel Arteta and the Gunners. 5 red cards. Just can't afford that many red cards in a season and expect to challenge. But here at Portman Road, it's 3 successive Premier League wins for the first time since December 2023 for Tottenham Hotspur. And they've done it quite comfortably in the end. Ipswich made a rip-roaring start to this encounter, but a brace from Brennan Johnson in the first half had Tottenham 2-1 ahead at the break. Jed Spence then hit a deflected third in. Dejan Kulusevski broke clear to curl in a sumptuous 4th. And it's another chastening Premier League lesson for Ipswich Town on their own patch, who remain in the bottom 3 and are losing ground on Wolves outside the drop zone. 30,003 were here to see it. And 3 is the magic number for Spurs, because that's how many consecutive victories they now have in the Premier League after winning 1 of the 3 of the previous 11. Full-time score at Portman Road. Ipswich 1, Tottenham Hotspur 4.
Thank you very much, Dan. Ultimately, comfortable it felt for Tottenham when you look at the scoreline, but Ipswich punished Courtney for not taking their chances, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, I totally agree, and as you say, I don't think it's totally reflective of the game, the scoreline. I still stand by the fact I don't think the 4th goal should have stood, for the reasons we spoke about, in terms of the play should have been stopped for the head injury like it was earlier on. For Danso, I think it was only 5 minutes before, but you're right. They were punished by the fact that they didn't take their opportunities, Ipswich, especially early on in the first half, within more or less the first 5 minutes. And they're the boos you can hear from the officiating team. But if we're honest, in terms of, yes, the 4th goal shouldn't have stood, but I don't, that doesn't change the fact that they were 3-1 down and the time was ticking down. So it's unfortunate, and I'll go back to what I said before the game in terms of the ones around them. For like Leicester, for example, they look a more together team. They look like they could get a point from somewhere, whereas I'm of the opinion at the moment, you look at Leicester, the way they're playing, I don't know where their next point comes from, whereas you look at Ipswich and they've got something about them and they might be able to claw a few points here and there. They've still got to play Leicester, they've still got to play Wolves, still got to play West Ham, who are in and around them, and obviously again we've seen results today that we weren't expecting in terms of Arsenal losing and Bournemouth losing because of red cards, so anything can happen, but there's still a glimmer of hope for Ipswich. I've seen enough from them to think that they've got enough to really battle it out and take it to the wire, but they were just undone by a bit more quality in the Spurs side today.
Yeah, with those players back, it has made a huge difference to Ange Postecoglou and his side as he leads his players over to the far side of the pitch to clap the Tottenham Hotspur fans that have stayed to applaud their side after that performance. The Ipswich players just heading back down the tunnel after doing the same with their fans at the Sir Bobby Robson stand. They'll be disappointed when they get in to the tunnel and they see exactly what's happened as well, and with Wolves getting all 3 points and pulling themselves 5 points clear of the relegation places, but still plenty of games to go. Just finally, Courtney, on Tottenham, 3 wins on the bounce. I mean, that's huge for their confidence. They're up to 12th. You know, still not where they'd like to be, quite clearly. It seems strange saying, you know, Spurs are pleased with moving up to 12th. But did you see a glimmer of hope for this side?
Yeah, I think compared to the Manchester United performance, we saw a better performance. We saw that next step up from Spurs, and especially Son Heung-min in the first half. He was brilliant. Brennan Johnson was bright. And I think that, again, as the game progressed, you saw that Ange Postecoglou, he had the ability to make a lot of subs, to bring the likes of James Maddison and Pedro Porro on. Odegaard, again, great to see him get some minutes. And it's the fact that you're not just bringing players on that get minutes and then seeing them come back, but the ability to obviously save some players and bring them off the pitch, especially when we've said we've got a fantastic round of midweek fixtures. So it's going to be, you know, a real quick turnaround. So the fact that, you know, at that 3-1, Ange has the ability to make the change that he does and protect players. I think it's a real good day at the office if you're a Spurs player and fan alike.
Absolutely. Time for us to pick our man of the match with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Talksport 2 with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Enterprise has vans of all shapes and sizes. So if you've got a plan, we've got a van.
This is a tough one, Courtney, because I felt like it was an all-round good team performance, and actually there were so many Ipswich players that, you know, really covered themselves well. But who are you going to give it to?
I've got to give it to Son, and his first half performance was electric, but I really do want to give like a nice mention to Jed Spence, because I thought he was brilliant as well. But yeah, it's the former forward in me that obviously has to go for a forward player, I think, in Son.
And he's been under some criticism as well for his captaincy at Spurs this season, but that was definitely a captain's performance, teeing up Brennan Johnson for those 2 goals in the first half. That was our man of the match from today's game with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.